Echo Fox's lineup. We've got some great players here. Koldamik, Mikshi, Lone Delphi, and substitute and coach Fuji.
Yeah, I had high expectations for this team coming into the season. I still think that they can execute to a pretty high level. I'd rank them up in the top 4 when they're playing well. I didn't get a chance to talk to Fuji this week like I wanted to. He was not feeling too well earlier in the week, but had a quick little just chat back and forth, and he said it was pretty clear to him and the team that there were some just mistakes that were made. They're working on correcting those small mistakes. And one of the kind of the silver linings for this team is that Lone Delphi was performing pretty well, and if his 2 experienced teammates around him can correct some of those small mistakes, they could probably rock it up to the top pretty quick.
All right, and they're going to be up against Immortals in our first matchup here. We've got Vanes, Dienzio, Aloha with the subs Sui Generis, and Hot Sausut.
That's it now. That's it.
Oh, well, I mean, this is a proven lineup. I mean, these guys, they've been champions. They always perform when they're at the live events. The problem has been, in recent seasons, their performance in the online portion of the season. And it kind of continued last week, where they fell 0-2. And if they don't step up their performance in the online portion of these events, they may not make it to the live championships to have that chance to perform.
And this is one very important thing to realize. We're not sending all 8 teams from these regions to the live championships this time around. It's a unified championship with 6 teams from each region. So if you're sitting at 0, you're not coming in as the 0th seed, as Dienzio has previously put it. You're just not going.
He'll be sitting there like...
All right, we're ready for the draft, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get things kicked off for North America today. We've got Echo Fox up against Immortals first.
All right, so as we get on into this one, I mean, again, one of these teams is going to be extremely disappointed with where their standings look after the week is over. The other one obviously has a chance to get a little bit higher up, but 0 points for both of them. Not a great start.
No, not a great start. Well, let's see if they can start this draft off strong. Echo Fox is going to look to set the tempo here.
Interesting that they're taking a while here. Glaive going to be the first ban from Echo Fox. I mean, it has proven itself to be extremely strong right now, but at least over in Europe today, it was being banned in the second rotation.
Yeah, well, more often than not, the Lyra Adagio were banned first, but we actually saw quite a few teams leave Lyra and Adagio open in Europe today.
It's interesting. I feel like a lot of teams, it's either you'll see like the Ringo Vox combo ban or the Lyra Adagio combo ban, or you'll see the Glaive Lance kind of combo ban come in. They're paired up a lot of times.
It's interesting, right? Because one comp might be like Adagio, Ringo, Glaive, and then you might have the Lance, Lyra, Vox combo.
Right.
And those are like the archetypical teams right now.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Lyra has gone through the bans without being banned and was not first picked.
So we saw TSM letting Lyra go through drafts. It was working pretty well for them. They were incredibly prepared. If there was another team that was going to be equally prepared, I would say it would be Echo Fox with Fuji coaching them. So we'll have to see how this just starts to shape up here.
And this is a team, I think, especially with Fuji in that coach position, like you were saying, this is a team that is going to adapt week to week, I would hope.
Definitely.
Fuji is going to be watching every single game. He's going to be taking comprehensive notes. And so long as he's got, the confidence of his team behind him and they trust his judgment, I think that they're going to be able to adapt very, very quickly, perhaps quicker than anyone else, actually, other than maybe Team Solomid.
Yeah.
And you see Immortals immediately pick up the Lyra. Well, not immediately. It took a fair bit of time to think about it. Probably just wondering, wait, they left Lyra open. What do they have in mind to stop Lyra?
So you're walking through the woods and there's like a juicy hamburgers just sitting there. Hey, wait a second.
Well, they decide that they feel the Lyra is strong enough that whatever Echo Fox has planned for it, they can overcome. They take the Lyra, ban away the Lance. The Petal gets banned.
That's an interesting one. What do you guys think about that?
Signals to me that they might want some little Taka action. Maybe they want some Kroll in this lineup.
I was thinking Kroll, but Taka probably makes
Kroll
just as much sense.
doesn't do incredibly well into Lyra.
I mean, whilst that is true
Neither
in
does
terms
Taka.
of not being able to use Dead Man's Rush, I think the fact that you can just kind of throw out your stun and hit someone who's maybe in Bright Bulwark does mean that you can get to them.
Fortress.
Okay.
Okay. I like
That
it.
denies it from countering any of the healing out of Lyra.
Yep.
Although, again, Fortress into Lyra can be rough.
I'm very curious to see how they run this because we could have the Captain Lyra or the Fortress.
This is one of the things I really like about a lot of the North American teams in particular, is you sit here through the draft and you don't really know where they're going to be going until their final pick comes through. So, like, you're looking at Lyra Fortress, like, there's nothing that is really jumps out at us as being like, okay, this is what they're trying to do. Every so often, it does end up where they get the full draft and we still don't know what they're trying to do. But
Maybe they could pick up like a Gwen or something and kind of push early.
Bacon, now's a good time to bring up that Vox win rate number.
yeah, so going off of week 1 data, we haven't implemented all of the European matches from earlier today just yet, but Vox was the most picked hero across both regions, and of any hero that had at least 7 games played, he had the highest win rate. He was played 22 times and had a 68% win rate.
Wow.
That was like 10% higher than the next closest win rate, which was like a 58 or something.
Yeah, and that was, I believe, Lyra had like a 58. So
So if they
Vox
get
has
both.
been disgustingly good throughout Vainglory 8. And you almost wonder why, we've seen it slip through the draft multiple times now, despite having this level of dominance.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. It is going to be an Arden paired up with the Ringo for Echo Fox. They have to lock in a final pick here before Immortals gets a chance to reply. Are we going to see Arden jungle like we did earlier? I feel like that's unlikely.
I don't think so. I'm so curious.
Like, I'm really interested in what they're gonna pick up. Like, I don't even want to predict what they're gonna do because we don't really know. Like,
It's so hard to intuit that they might pick an Arden into a Lyra. Like that, I mean, every single ability.
yeah, all 3.
Every single ability gets
Yeah, but
counted
Brad
out.
Bulwark's
Alpha's exactly the same.
very long cooldown.
What's going on?
I mean, but what shuts it down other than Bright Bulwark?
I don't know. I feel like Immortals, I mean, they just want to jump on you anyway. So you're getting like a minor amount of impact from your ability to chase so hard with.
It's hard
with
to run at
ability.
someone that's running at you.
My question is now for Immortals: is this fortress going to be a captain or a jungler?
Jungler. I think it's a jungler.
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say like.
I think
definitely
because you don't want a weapon Jewel coming out of the jungle. You want her in the lane. If you're gonna put you wouldn't put Lyra. Yeah, no, this is Fortress Jungle. It's gonna be running at you time.
I mean, I'd actually prefer to see it in jungle in terms of an entertainment perspective.
Absolutely.
But I still feel like Lyra is a solid lane choice, and you have the weapon Jewel in jungle, perhaps.
I don't know. I don't like it, team. I really like it the other way, though. I actually really like it.
Okay, talk about why for both sides. Like, what is bad about having the weapon Jewel in the jungle?
Well, you're not going to be able to get your third item up and running. That's when she really starts to come online. And I hope I don't see the breaking point build. I'd rather just see Sorrow into Tyrants with Tornado Trigger. Maybe some people going for double Tyrants, depending. But you're going to have the Fortress, who's going to be nice and durable. He can stay up in the front line, maybe Stormcrown, Aftershock build, something like that. And Lyra there, she's going to be bringing that burst healing. And when Jewel commits into a fight, you drop the Sigil right there. And if Jewel's having a hard time sticking to a target, boom, Fortress A, move speed. There you go.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking this composition is. On the other side, though, the Ringo, Arden, and Alpha, that's kind of like a mixed bag of what they're trying to do. Obviously Alpha wants to get on your face, is going to be able to stick to targets very well.
Yeah.
Arden can definitely help with that. And then Ringo's just sort of staying back. So I feel like a lot of it's just going to be trying to distract the team away from the Ringo, but they don't really have many tools to stop the side of Immortals from getting onto Ringo.
However, I think it will be very easy for Delphi on this alpha, this game, to get onto his key target, specifically the Jewel. And there's a good chance that that big damage is going to be coming. Actually, if you hit a Prime Directive, you go behind the target, and you're immediately
And
giving
Jewel
full damage
is
to
gonna get
Jewel. So
melted.
that's pretty good in that regard. And also, Termination Protocol should be pretty easy to land.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are all good points. I mean, this is definitely a very interesting matchup. I'm excited to see what happens and what our casters think about it as we head onto the Halcyon Fold for game number 1 of Echo Fox versus Immortals with Dalsy and Jingyi.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the North American side of the Vainglory 8. It is me, Dalsy, and of course, joined by the beautiful Xinyi for our first quarterfinal matchup here between Immortals and Echo Fox. And important stuff said by the analysts early on. Neither of these teams came away with week 1 with a single win, both sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard at 0 points. So desperate times call for desperate measures. Only one of these guys can leave with a win in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, looking at the compositions that we're seeing right now, I think Lone Delphi and Caldermeek together, they have a lot of opportunity to place a lot of pressure there onto Aloha in the jungle. I think as a Fortress, its clear speed isn't great, and for that alpha there, it's a really good opportunity to just try and put some pressure on it, just deny some of the camps away there.
So I kind of can see what Immortals are doing here. They picked up this weapon-powered jewel that we've seen very popularized recently in the lane for Denzio, but it is the Fortress on Aloha, and you know, he's going to provide movement speed to his team, allow the Fortress to get onto the back line. But how do you think it really fares in the jungle position?
The Fortress, I think the Fortress, as long as it gets some good vision down, especially coming up from the Lyra, so we do prevent those invasions, it's going to be a bit touch and go there for them until Fortress reaches level 6, and I think that's really when he gets his big power spike with the attack of the pack, because it just does so much damage there that it forces the other team to back away. So I think that's gonna be a major plus for them, but we do have to wait till that stage of the game before we can really see how it's gonna do.
Alright, well, definitely eager to see how that one goes. Nothing really to scream home about so far in this game, as both Echo Fox and Immortals are just playing their cards right, looking to try and get some gold for themselves, get their experience going. Lone Delphi is looking for a bit of an invade, has Caldermeek as well to follow up with some damage, but all of the Immortals are there, and it's actually just going to be the chase. Yeah, here it comes. Caldermeek going low, and it will be first blood going towards Echo Immortals here as Denzio dives forward. He wants a second kill onto Mixi, and Mixi will fall. It's a double for this weapon-powered jewel very early into the game.
Oh, that's a bit of a misstep from Caldermeek, a little bit too far forward, and actually this is not what I was expecting the game to go at this stage of the game. I wasn't expecting Immortals to be the one to pick up the first 2 kills, and well, they're only falling a little bit behind right now, but I think at that point we should have just seen Mixi just back away really early on, being like, we can't save him, just leave it.
Bit of trouble as well, as Lone Delphi trying to get aggressive into the jungle of Immortals is actually going to be spotted out here by Veins and Aloha, so that's going to be the Treant going to Aloha. Bad news, as the Bright Bulwark avoids any escape, and they're just going to eat her down before she gets to reboot. A 3rd kill for Immortals in this early part of the game. Everything going wrong for Echo Fox.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just a little bit just a bit aggressive coming from Lone Delphi. I completely see why he was going to do it, and it's such a shame that he did not get a tree. And actually, Denzio takes a lot of damage there, but it's okay. I think one of the problems there coming out for Echo Fox here is that Vayne's there on that Lyra with that Imperial Sigil just does so much healing. They really need to be able to burst someone down and prevent that healing just from kind of coming out. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult for Echo Fox to pick up a kill this stage in the game.
I'm liking this map movement. I'm not sure they'll get this Treant though. It's about to die, but nope, they get it just a second before the Elder Treant decides to go home, visit his family, spend some time with the grandchildren, as you can imagine. But there we go. First jungle purchase coming up through. It will be Aloha already with the Storm Crown at 4 minutes. A very quick purchase.
Extremely quick purchase, and we do also see the fountain coming up from Veins already. Caldermeek, I think he just has enough money. I think he needs a little bit more gold, and then he can get the fountain. But I think this is a really good time for Immortals to be just applying a little bit more pressure in the lane or in the jungle, just because they do have that advantage with that Storm Crown there on Aloha. Now, he is about to reach level 6, and I think once he does, I think that'll be a really good opportunity for just to release the attack of the pack when they see the right opportunity.
Oh, look at the XP differences between everyone on Immortals compared to Echo Fox. Lone Delphi hasn't even hit level 5, and Aloha is threatening that ultimate. Denzio taking a little bit of damage, but he's going to dive straight over the wall, looking for Mixi, and lands a Thunderstrike just to say hi. Bit of, you know, friendly banter between the two laners here, the carries for both these teams. But at the moment, Immortals are just showcasing so much pressure against Echo Fox. It's almost unfortunate right now. Echo Fox are just kind of having to take it on the cheek, whatever Immortals want to throw out.
think for me right now is that looking at the compositions, both of the teams, they have strong compositions and they definitely have their moments. But I think what's kind of really standing out to me right now is that Immortals, they do have better team rotation. Oh, their Attack of the Pack's been released.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fight on all fronts as Mixi gets ingressed on by Dienzio under the turret fountain, keeping him alive for now. But a Thunderstrike might just take this Ringo down. No, Dienzio may be biting off more than he can chew. Let's switch it over because it's this jungle fight. Everyone's going low, but it's Dienzio going to fall down. They managed to escape the Crystal Sentry, the rest of Immortals, but a sloppy play, mixed calls, and the team were not fighting on the same front.
Well, I did say I wanted to see the Attack of the Pack release, but completely, it was very sloppy. They were kept fighting with that Crystal Sentry on them, and the Crystal Sentry was on Aloha at the same time as well. The Fountain got used, and Pyro Sigils got thrown out. It just wasn't enough at that point. And DNZO was just on the other side of the map, and I think if he just come down a little bit earlier, if the communication was just a little bit more on point there, maybe we could have seen a kill being picked up, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Immortals, as you say. Just splitting up a little bit too hard, and instead of getting 2 kills for the team, they actually just lose 1 and don't get anything. So it's the importance of communication just being showcased, unfortunately, at the expense of Immortals there. But alas, they are still 1,000 gold ahead. It's not too devastating for them, though a bit of gold onto Mixi is not the person you want to be giving it to.
Absolutely not. And actually, if we do look at DNZO, right now he's 68 CS, and Mixi's at 43. They've managed to draw quite far ahead, which I think really definitely is contributing to that gold increase. And it looks like they're actually just hunting for blood there on Lone Delphi. I don't know if this is a good time to pick a fight. No, they're just in the back way, which I think is a really good choice at this time.
Just threatening more than anything, pushing this alpha further into the jungle. They're going to steal away this gold miner. It's almost going to go uncontested here, as here comes, oh dear, it's Dienzio jumping over and stolen away by Call the Meek. Immortals' communication is slacking. Dienzio tries to dive over the wall to try and take on Mixi, who we thought was coming around for a flank, and in response, it just opens up the window of potential for Fox to steal away that gold miner.
Well, we were saying, you know, they're doing quite well at this time. They're just drawing that slow and steady gold lead, and they just lost. Oh my gosh, the gauntlet comes out.
Massive fight, and Dienzio is going to fall immediately. Cannot jump through the gauntlet's walls without a reflex block. You'll see that he currently doesn't have any defensive items. Well, actually, tier 1 armor is there, but gonna be Echo Fox going immediately into the jungle of Immortals. They want to steal away this Crystal Sentry. These sentries in the jungle, they have 3 lives each. When you kill them 3 times, they are exiled from the Halcyon Fold until the next game.
Yes, well, that gold lead now, that we're talking about is, well, practically non-existent. And just going back to that point about the gauntlet, I think especially when there's a gauntlet on the opposing team, you really do want to be picking up that reflex block early, and we did see Dienzio losing his life there. But one thing I want to point out is that Crystal Fortress, once he picks up a little bit more defense there, it's going to be extremely strong in the late game. I can definitely see Immortals just taking advantage of that power spike. Right now, I think just with that Stormcorn, it's not quite enough. He has virtually no defense. So I think once he does get that Atlas Polygon, it might be a little bit better for them.
Immortals, they see a window of opportunity, so they will take the Crystal Sentry out of the picture from Echo Fox. Both Crystal Sentries now sitting on 2 lives apiece, and a couple purchases coming through as well will be those War Treads purchased up by Call the Meek nice and early. Not really any need to get a Crucible early on. In fact, I'm wondering if you will even bother. There's not many abilities on the side of Immortals here that you would want to block against your entire team.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I think the main thing is just for the individual characters or heroes themselves just to be picking up that reflex block just to get out of the gauntlet. I think it's actually not a bad thing for Aloha to be in the gauntlet. If he just releases his wolves, it forces Echo Fox to disengage, but for DNZ it was a major priority because in that last fight they all just focused on him. It was a really nice catch out there. Nice power spike. I think we're going to be seeing a fight breaking out. There it is. Again.
The gauntlet goes down, but it is the attack of the pack, and Call the Meek immediately disengaging. The walls have been down. Here comes that termination protocol straight onto Dienzio, and he will blow up, but it's not a kill. They've eliminated the entire Echo Fox lineup, and they'll take down that rebooting alpha as well. Close but no cigar, and Immortals find an ace.
It was very nice ace as well, and they did exactly so. We saw Call the Meek engaging with that gauntlet and managed to catch all 3 out. But then they did exactly what I thought they would, which is release Attack of the Pack, and that did a lot of damage. It was very nicely done by Immortals there, and it was a nice turnaround. We're seeing them picking up the first turrets. They picked up the Sentry as well, so we're seeing a nice 2k gold lead swinging towards them.
Yeah, that's the power, as you mentioned it. Now Immortals going to try and secure themselves a gold miner. This time, I'm not sure Call the Meek will be able to steal it away, but he's in position. Flare out, looking to get into the back line. Nope, it will just be Echo Fox, allowing Immortals to take that one away. It is that immense gold payout as well. So a 4,000 gold lead, 3,000 actually just about here for Immortals. Starting to run away just a little bit at this 11-minute mark.
Yeah, we are seeing. I really like the vision coming out from Veins right now. We're seeing a lot of scout traps being placed throughout the center of the jungle, and I think we are going to be seeing Immortals, especially with 1 life left on that sentry, just be going into the jungle of Echo Fox a little bit more right now. And oops, I just zoomed out. Oh no.
Oh no, camera controls. The bane of casters. When you accidentally pinch and then it's not quite right, you can't see it anymore.
Oh no.
Thankfully, you guys don't have to worry about those kind of things. Echo Fox, they do have to worry because Immortals are starting to run into the jungle. Here's the Crystal Sentry back from his vacation, possibly going to get a rude welcoming. In fact, he is. Immortals are going to go straight on in it, but Echo Fox, they don't like this. There's the gauntlet going down. Dienzio, he's bursted down this Alpha. They're looking to eliminate her from the fight immediately, but they've left Mixi to do his work. He's stacking up those breaking point stacks, and he's getting away with it as well. 1 kill traded back. It will be Immortals just running from the jungle without Dienzio alive. They don't fancy the fight.
That was a really interesting fight. So it was a good gauntlet coming up from Call the Meek. It managed to catch Veins out and stun him. But I think what my main issue was, I was a little bit concerned because I saw all 3 members of Immortals jumping onto Lone Delphi, and I just don't think that was the right choice. I feel like they should have prioritized on Mixi. And as you said, he was really building up those breaking point stacks. They managed to take down Lone Delphi, but they weren't in any fit condition to focus on Mixi at that point. And I just feel like if they'd gone for Mixi first, we might have seen a completely different outcome.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Have to be focusing down that Ringo, and we've seen across regions, whenever this weapon-powered duel is played in the lane for a carry, it is often the opponent carry that is being dived upon, attempted to be blown out of the fight. So a little bit more of that please from Immortals, and I think that fight would have gone an entirely different way. But once more, it will be this gold miner being started up here by Immortals. Not quite full just yet, but it will be a decent gold payout for them as well. And now that Tyrant's Monocle has been finished for Dienzio, a crucial point on this Jules power spike train. They're looking to do it straight away. Mixi dived onto a bit of damage, but not too much just yet.
I feel like this might be a bit of a controversial point, but I feel like if Call the Meek just saved his gauntlets, because he's using them quite aggressively right now, using them to engage, and I think if he held onto them defensively, so the moment Aloha releases his wolves, just a ward right away, throw down the gauntlet, and just give Mixi the time to clear away the wolves, because right now those wolves are the main bane in Echo Fox's lives.
Attack of the pack. Going to just tear on through, and it is making an awkward scenario for Echo Fox. These gauntlets can be friendly, I guess, if they catch out Dienzio or even Aloha on the wall straight off the bat, but otherwise a bit of a pain to fight in. They have to clear out these wolves very quickly. There's going to be this jungle startup. Mixi bursted with a single power strike, and now that is going to be red button, not quite hitting the target. It is weapon power duel, not really going for it, but now they are going in. Gauntlet walls to try and protect Mixi, but he's being attacked by this wolf. They've got him. The thunder strikes from Dienzio stacking on up. Now he's looking to get a second for himself. Going to dive on forward to try and take down Call the Meek. The double will be his. 2-0 for Immortals here. They're going to take this turret as a result.
He's really aggressive coming at them with that turret dive, and I think they were just capitalizing on the fact that Mixi was just a little bit too far forward in terms of positioning at the start of it, so he was already quite low health, and even though we did see the defensive gauntlet coming out from Call the Meek, it just wasn't enough because he started running just towards Immortal's base. So we're just seeing that gold lead just drawing a little bit more ahead now at 7k, and I think if we look at the items coming out from Echo Fox, I think just going on to what I was saying before, they need to clear those wolves. That's not happening at the moment. Because we are seeing Immortals begin to focus on Mixi a little bit more.
Well, tough times ahead for Echo Fox. They have purchased up some fuses there for the Coldermeek and Lone Delphi, 2 crystal infusements, as this Kraken has now spawned onto the Halcyon Fold, the beautiful beast, ready for Immortals to take. They have a Storm Crown, they have a weapon power jewel, so this thing is just going to get demolished. And actually Echo Fox are nowhere near in position to contest this, perhaps not respecting how quickly Immortals can take it.
Yeah, I really don't think they are. So they're going to have I think they're actually going to be alright with defending it. Defending that Kraken, if they're able to stop that Kraken before it gets to the base turrets. I think it should be fine, and I think it was probably a wise choice not to go into the jungle to try and steal that Kraken, because I feel like fighting in the jungle is what Immortals want. They have that great area of space, and they should be focusing more on just trying to pick those fights in the lane.
One crucial one to come. If they want to keep their base alive, they will have to force Immortals off the offensive, prevent this Kraken from taking a Vayne Crystal. This Kraken just about to hit this choke turret here, and Immortal's going to be escorting it, looking to do the damage as well. It's going to force Fox right back. This turret's just getting completely destroyed. A Hellfire Brew will land on Dienzio, but it's blocked up by Vaynes and that Crucible as well. Important ability used. Coldermeek now might have a great opportunity to land a gauntlet. There it is. Forces the fight, but they're all inside it. They're looking for the damage. They force the gauntlet walls to collapse as that's Coldermeek escaping for his life. They're not doing enough damage to this Kraken, and these turrets are falling. Immortals unstoppable at this time and diving onto Mixi to try and finish it off. Aloha taking the damage for the fountain will keep him alive. They're not finding the killing blow onto Mixi, and now they have to turn their focus onto these objectives. It's going to be easier to take down here. That Vayne Crystal Mystic Low Delphi misses his prime directive as well. A last chance for Echo Fox to stop the explosions that come through. But a fantastic first game coming out of Immortals, a sub 17-minute win for them, and they controlled the game from minute 1 to minute 17.
Absolutely, and I think if it's going to come down to it, I think Echo Fox, they could have had a really promising start. We didn't really see that coming through. I think in terms of the rotations through jungle, it was a little bit off. And also, I feel quite bad, but I do need to point out the gauntlets. The gauntlets weren't really catching anyone out, and every time a gauntlet was used, Immortals would just capitalize on and use the attack of the pack to just completely turn it around. And I think that was one of the major issues for me, is that you want to be stunning people, you want to be catching them out, or just using it defensively, and I just didn't see that, to be honest.
Well, a fantastic first game, a game that will make Say Generous proud. Happy birthday to you, pal. Of course, the head coach for Immortals there. And that's a point on the board. Immortals' first point here in the North American VG split. And so heading into game 2 for Echo Fox, if they want to rally back, they're going to have to consider their draft. We're going to throw it back over to the analyst desk, of course, to break that one down before we get further into this series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, maybe someone just reminded Immortals that, hey guys, points carry over, and you need to perform all the way throughout to get to the live championships.
They're like, what? What did you tell us before?
Let's let's have a look at a replay real quick. It was around 14 minutes. I want to highlight Dienzio here. I feel like his confidence as a player and as a personality shows when he plays Jewel.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the gauntlet going down. Dienzio just walks right through it, and where'd Mixi go?
he is living up to this Jewel skin. I actually felt like there was a monster out on the map, just a giant Yeti. The fear from Echo Fox there. He was exactly as you said. He was playing to that Zio style, that ego you could see coming through, and in a good way. I don't mean in a bad way, because I think, you know, when we think about these high level players, Zio's always one of the guys that if he had a weapon saw, he wasn't going to run. He was spun up. He's going to stand his ground and try to stutter step you down to death. With this Jewel, he was just running at his target. It was beautiful.
Honestly, that's a trait of like some of the best players, right? Like they have this knowledge that they are strong. They have confidence and they make plays happen. Sometimes that goes too far, but a lot of the time if they are as good as someone like Zio or Von C or
Leon,
whoever, right?
I mean, you
Leon.
never see Leon run away. He doesn't run away.
Exactly.
That's
Worked out really well for them this game. Obviously, we're going to be having a second one, though. Echo Fox has an opportunity to pull back. We talked about the draft and how it was kind of interesting. As the game began, you and I especially really talked a bit more about it, and you said it was putting a lot of weight on Lone Delphi's shoulders. Now, do you think that he wasn't able to deliver, or was it a comprehensive problem in that first game?
comprehensive problem. It's also structurally a problem, but maybe it's not a problem if the whole team's plan is to put all of the weight on Delphi's shoulders, because not only did Delphi have to get on target, he had to kill the targets, and positioning was all based around him. You can't put him in this role with that draft and have someone else telling him who to go on and where to be positioned. Like, he has to make that decision himself. And if he went too far, suddenly Ringo's left out to dry, and Ringo's not getting damage on target. If Ringo's getting damage on target, he's within range to get engaged on. And so Delphi had to constantly be looking to get on target and also be worrying about getting back onto the Ringo simultaneously. And so he had to keep that positioning. It was really tough.
Yeah, and just talking about that positioning, I mean, that replay we just saw was a prime example of it. The gauntlet goes down. That's where they decide they want to fight. But it didn't look like anyone else on the side of Echo Fox was ready to fight in that moment. I mean, Mixie ends up on the opposite side of the fight. You had Lone Delphi just kind of in the middle there somewhere. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle. And so I think that completely plays into what you said.
Delphi had to be very disciplined with his trigger finger on the termination protocol, too, because if he popped it too early, as soon as he went into reboot, all the attention turns on the Mixie. Like, they don't actually mind that much. So that happened once earlier on by the shop. Definitely a tough position to be in for him. We are ready for the draft of game number 2. Let's see if Immortals can pull out a creative composition like in game 1 and make the win happen.
Yeah, well, definitely a creative composition, but they made it work 100%.
That was such a good comp. I mean, it came through so smooth when it all came together. Like, it was just actually a brilliant draft.
Yeah, and again, I touched on it in the last draft. You don't know what they're going to be doing until that final pick comes through. Like, they had the Lyra and the Fortress,
yeah.
and we're just like, what are they even going to pull for
Is
a
it
third
gonna be
pick?
Lyra
Like, who
Lane?
knows what
Yeah.
they're doing? And then the Jewel comes through, and it's just like, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do. And then they ran it to perfection.
All right, so Immortals, they're going to be first banning Adagio here for game number 2. Echo Fox now have the opportunity to ban something away of their own.
Echo Fox let the Lyra through last game in G. So they were picking their poison on that one. It's curious to see if they make the same decision here.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where if you let the Lyra through, you have to assume your opponents are going to pick it up. Usually that means you have something in mind to try and stop it. I don't know if they thought that was what was going to stop it, but it certainly didn't.
The most trolly thing would be is if Echo Fox let Lyra through and Immortals just let it go too. It'd be like, wait a second. I don't know. All right, yeah, Lyra's going to be banned out here, so Immortals looking to set the tempo here.
Ringo Glaive would be statistically, based on bans, the most likely first pick here. Right?
Or Lance. Actually,
Ringo Lance.
Ringo.
Okay, Ringo Lance. I was close.
He's referencing.
I'm
I
not the
literally,
number guy.
I just finished, compiling stats from adding in stuff from Europe earlier today, and Adagio and Lyra have appeared in every single draft across both North America and Europe in the Vainglory 8, either picked or banned. The next two highest was actually a tie between the Ringo and the Lance. Just for anyone who's wants some context on
For win rate, though, Vox is way up there.
70%
and he's been locked
now.
in. And I guess a question needs to be, is Vox so high win rate because people are only picking him when it really, really makes sense,
that's a
as
good
opposed to first pick, because we haven't seen first pick Vox that much.
We haven't seen first pick Vox that much, but it isn't so much just the when it really, really makes sense, because it is still the most picked hero. He has appeared in
Hey,
the
it
most
can make
games.
sense a lot of the time, but not all the time. That's all
But,
I'm saying.
It's just a very strong pick. There's a reason a lot of teams have kind of stated that they felt Vox was the #1 laner in the game at the moment, and it's definitely showing through in the stats.
What do you feel about Echo Fox immediately answering with Ringo? I think that's kind of curious, given that it's unlikely that Vox is going anywhere other than lane. You don't need to pick your laner because you're not at risk of it being picked away from you. Ban, maybe.
Yeah, it could be banned out, and that could come down to what mix she's comfortable on. Because I would say Baron could definitely a go-to pick. It shuts down the Vox, but maybe Mixi's not so comfortable on that. And we've seen teams just get dumpstered when they pick that up for a player that's not too confident on it.
I think it was just fear of having it banned away, wanting to have the Ringo. We see them paired up so frequently where if the Vox comes out, we often do end up seeing the Ringo on the other side. But Fortress going to be banned by Immortals.
That's interesting.
Not wanting
And
Echo
that's
Fox.
with healers gone from the table.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we talked about in Challenger, we're seeing Fortress a lot as answer to Adagio on B side. Here, they're saying this is so strong in its own right, not even as a counter pick, we're going to ban it.
Well, I mean, going back
Over Lance.
going back multiple seasons, this roster was the roster to make like the run at you Fortress.
Aloha.
Yeah, double
Yeah.
weapon comps. And Fortress was a huge part of that. So
Yep.
they historically put a lot of emphasis on Fortress, and they showed last game why it can still have a great effect. But Lance as the second pick for Echo Fox, I think it's a very smart pick up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the ability to try and slow up and stop what Vox is looking to do. If you can land the impales on him, it's actually a really unique interaction. If Vox starts the Sonic Zoom, like just as the impale is about to hit, it still roots him. He gets to dash, but he still gets rooted at the end of the dash. And so that little bit can actually still be enough for the team to catch up and close the gap onto him. So definitely keep your eyes on that interaction.
This game, I can already tell it's going to be packed with fireworks because we've got Vox, Ringo, and Lance, who are three of the top heroes that we were talking about. The question is, what gets paired up here? You know, Immortals, there's so many ways they could go. Arden going to be the first of them.
Arden, not a bad pickup here.
Not a bad pickup. In a lot of these cases we've seen from North America specifically, a lot of teams go to Alpha. I think I'd like to see a Koshka here.
I'd like to see Koshko or even a Black Feather, I think could do really well.
Yeah,
You can
Black
get
Feather
right
could do
past
well.
the Lance.
Yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
nice pick.
Nice call, Bacon. All right,
I
well,
get him
Echo
right every
Fox.
once in a while.
But
Yeah.
the thing I don't like, I mean, while it is a very strong pick and it fits it, all you have is Gauntlet as far as disables on this team.
I mean, that's definitely a bit of a problem, but you got a lot of mobility. And you don't have
You
a
do.
Lyra shutting you down, so maybe you just sort of navigate around the fights instead of trying to lock down specific areas.
Yeah, I think they're really going to be looking to try and get Mixi out of sorts with this Black Feather because that's one of the most difficult things is once someone gets onto your face as a Ringo, how you deal with that. It can be really tough, especially you have to assume there's going to be an Atlas Pauldron coming out from the Black Feather. So very likely just going to be diving onto Mixi on this Ringo, popping the Atlas Pauldron, and just taking meta fights.
I wonder what Echo Fox is going to pick up as their last lock-in here. Maybe something else to just protect Ringo. I don't think I really want to see Alpha again.
They can do that. I don't know. Whatever they pick, I'd like to see them pick up some early game potential because Black Feather's very vulnerable to getting invaded in his jungle. Lance has that early game power. It feels like they could just run through that jungle, just live in it if they wanted to, if they get a nice pick there.
Bet you they wish they didn't ban away the Glaive right now.
Oh, there we go.
I feel like Glaive would have been picked.
Glaive maybe over Black Feather, right, for Immortals if that happens. But
Okay,
it is
little
going to be
cutscene.
Kestrel last for Echo Fox. How is that? I mean, I feel like if you're really on the ball, it can be pretty stressful as a Black Feather into a Kestrel because you really need to use Rose Offensive at the right time or you're just going to get blown up.
Right. That I mean, because they've drafted a team that wants to run at you. So if Echo Fox see the fight coming and you can get maybe an active camo down before anything happens so that your timing's coming up on your second active camo to get in like a nice position, then suddenly it's a lot you have to dodge around.
Not only that, but one of the key things we see a lot of teams do against Kestrel is they get just past the active camo, and if you have a Lance, all of a sudden it just goes, oh hey, you guys just got past the active camo. Why don't you go ahead and go right back into it for a stun? Like that's one of the really fun interactions that can happen with those two being on the same team.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of attention going to be drawn to Ringo in these fights, so maybe Kestrel just sort of has the opportunity to move around and place down a few active camos or get a lot of glimmer shots off, which do respectable damage, obviously, if you're Crystal. You know, I think I like the fact that they chose instead of leveraging everything on Mixi to kind of diversify where their damage is coming from.
Yeah, the one thing I really want to see them do is put a lot of pressure on this Black Feather early on, though, because Black Feather can struggle if he gets invaded early, but once he gets rolling, there's nothing you can do to stop it and slow it down.
Do you think that Echo Fox has good ways of applying that pressure, though? Because Ringo, yeah, quite strong early on, but he's got his own stuff to worry about in the lane in this game. Kestrel, not the strongest early game hero.
I don't think Ringo has the strength early to put the pressure that they need, and they need the pressure in the jungle, not the lane. I don't think Kestrel has the pressure unless Immortals decide not to buy scout traps or flares. If that's the case, then yes. But
mean-
I don't think that will be the case.
What about Lance, and maybe what can he do to make this happen? Because you do sometimes see Lances that are captains pick up some damage early on. Maybe he does that and tries to leverage there.
I feel like it's not so much about getting kills on the Black Feather. It's mostly going to be the Kestrel trying to get in and just steal camps from him.
Starve him out.
Just try and take those camps, try and use those glimmer shots effectively to snipe his camps away from him right as he's about to last hit them, and then just get out of dodge. Like, don't even look for the fights, because he's not likely to go down in a straight-up fight unless you're hitting every single glimmer shot on him. But if you can just steal away his camps consistently, you can get pretty far ahead.
All right, well, let's head on to the Halcyon Fold and find out if Echo Fox can deal with this Black Feather or not. Passing it on over to our Shoutcasters, we've got Dalsy and Jingyi.
And very important time here for Echo Fox to get a singular point onto the board. If they are to lose this game against the Mortals, then they remain pointless after 2 weeks, and that's when things start to get a little bit scary, as you are being threatened to lose your, or at least have to contest your VG8 spot to some of the Challenger Series teams in Week 5. So it will be very important. We actually see a bit of an invade from Immortals straight off the bat. They're going to run into Echo Fox. This could get a little bit sticky here.
Definitely. I think it's going to be a 3-on-1. They're going to make it away, I think.
Oh, yeah. Recalls are going to go just about get away. So, Immortals, they play with fire. This time they don't get burnt. A minion candy being purchased up here by Dienzio. That's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think he's just wanting... See, the thing is, I think Vox and Ringo, especially in the early stages of the games at like level 1, 2, Ringo can easily just force the box back, and using the minion candies, it makes it a little bit more difficult for him to do, and does give DNZ...
Oh, that's the route. Cole the Meeks found Aloha. It's going to be Lone Delphi looking for the trouble on this Elder Treant, though. It is causing a bit of pain for Echo Fox, and there's going to be a fight around it. Immortals, they currently have position, but doesn't mean that they're going to secure it. It does go to Vanes, though, as he's going to start healing up. In fact, Aloha is the one to get it, so probably the prime subject there for Immortals. No one goes down just yet, but both these teams, they're hungry for blood.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just that last bit, I just wanted to point out we are seeing this Crystal Kestrel. We've been seeing a lot more of her, and you can just see how much splash damage she was able to do. She was able to force him back so much. But what does worry me, coming out from Echo Fox, is that there's a lot of dive potentially coming out from Immortals with that. Well, actually with everyone. That if they do get onto her, and if she's not able to get away before using the active camo, that is a dead Kestrel, and that is the main concern for me, especially going into the late game when it's more about the team fights and less about the poking.
And I have to say, I'm a fan of CP Kestrel over weapon power, always have been, and I probably will maintain it. I just like the ability to blow someone up. But you're absolutely right, without a reflex block and the potential to be dived upon does make things a little bit hard. You can see Lone Delphi using those glimmer shots to try and put pressure onto Aloha, who's just looking to try and start up this Elder Treant. These teams don't necessarily want to force a fight they will lose, as the Elder Treant, whilst it does give bonus experience, bonus gold, it's not worth losing your life over.
Absolutely not. Well, I just want to point out, just going back to that Crystal Kestrel again, we've been, like I said, we've been seeing a few more. One mistake that I've noticed a lot of teams doing when they are playing against this Crystal Kestrel is not prioritizing vision early enough. Because if they don't, she gets a little bit more control of the jungle. You need to be able to spot her when she does go away into her active camo. And when teams do start prioritizing it, it's usually a little bit too late.
So early priority on vision here for Immortals.
Absolutely.
I noticed Vanes was purchasing a fair amount of scout traps early on, placing them around the map. Some of them have been cleared out, but exactly for this reason, Lone Delphi, he was spotted. That scout trap in that top bush that you can see on your screen, spotted out Lone Delphi early on, allowed Immortals to understand that this was not a 2v2, it was a 2v3. They backed off immediately, called Aloha up to the lane to try and provide a bit of presence here. Now it's going to be Fox looking to try and retreat as this jungle shop is about to spawn.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a few fountains being picked up. Well, not quite yet. I'm a bit wary of Echo Fox, all three of them being in the jungle right now. It's not a place I want to see them particularly. I think with this composition particularly, it was so good for them to be in the lane. They can apply so much poke with the glimmer shots and with the Ringo as well. That's a really good opportunity just to get some early damage on the turret. But right now we're not really seeing too low. Oh, Mixie.
He's putting the pressure on. It's Mixie who's actually going low. A fight started by Echo Fox there. Immortals turn the pressure straight back on Look at the rotations. It's Lone Delphi immediately making his way up to lane because Dienzio is very low. Glimmer Shots could start to snipe away this Fox. He will be disengaging the fight completely, heading on down to purchase up an item for himself. Looking to get towards that breaking point very early on the Fox, but still not out of the woods just yet as Fox continue to harass that Impale landed onto Aloha. We would have been in for a bit of a show.
Definitely here. We are so far. It just feels like a lot. The two teams here, they're just trading back and forth. We do actually see the both fountains being picked up right now. And Lone Delphi actually just hit level 6, which is actually quite a fair bit ahead of any other heroes on the board right now. But this is where I want them to be applying pressure. They keep going into the jungle, and I want them to be just getting some damage. They're doing that right now, which is great. And I'm just wondering how much more they can keep that up. Not very much.
It will be.
Not very much.
Echo Fox just leaving. They want to purchase items up. It's going to be Frostburn as well as that Sorrow Blade there finished off. So an item now, a piece between the jungler and the carry here for Echo Fox. This would be a good time to try and look for a fight, as Immortals haven't quite hit that point, but something tells me they're about to, as Dienzio finishes his breaking point. Aloha won't quite finish his Sorrow Blade by looks of it, but very close to it.
Yes,
Sorry, it's
there you
Shadow
go.
Glass even.
Crystal. The thing about the Crystal Black Feather, though, when he uses his on point, it's got quite a large reach, which makes it a little bit more difficult for Lone Delphi and Mixi. And I think he used it once before when he didn't have the Shatter Glass yet, just on the wave there. It actually did quite a lot of damage, so that's something they're going to have to be very, very wary about. And that's when we begin to rely on Call the Meek a lot more. He uses Gifty and Wall to prevent any of this happening. I think this will become a little bit more apparent once we do get a little bit more into the late game. Oh!
One shot lands on to Dienzio. Bane's not quite able to block it, but here's Aloha on the side starting to do the damage. Lone Delphi struggling to escape the hurt that Aloha was able to put down, but the fountain was burnt there for Call the Meek to keep the jungler alive.
Yeah, but they do get that turret almost down right now, and it looks like they're just looking for a little bit more blood here with Echo Fox. And especially with Blackfeather on the other side of the map, this is a really good opportunity for him just to finish off that turret and get that 900 gold for the team. Oh, Dienzio!
Oh no, Dienzio almost drops down. Fountain, quick reaction from Veins to keep him healthy. You can see the health coming through, but Echo Fox, they want to maintain this pressure that they've started building up. They just need to be careful that they don't step too far over. Good impale onto Dienzio. Forces Immortals not to continue fighting, but look at Aloha, he dives in and he finds the first blood for Immortals. The Rose Offensive being a great catalyst for Immortals to pick that up. He's not done yet. He spots Lone Delphi low. Call the Meek trying to stop him. Looks like Call the Meek has dissuaded this Black Feather from chasing any further, but Immortals with the first blood once more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're not going to be going for the gold mine just yet, and I think that last fight really exemplified what I mean about this Black Feather, the mobility, and how dangerous it is when he is able to dive onto Echo Fox. The last target was Mixi, who didn't really have much defense at the time, actually still doesn't have that much defense, or even that good mobility, so he's not able to get away every single time, and that's going to be a big thing going into the next team fight and when we do see that gold mine being contested.
Yeah, certainly will be. I wonder if this Hellfire Brew will achieve much. It goes straight into the Vanguard shield, so not going to do much, but oh, lines up the one shot, and now Dienzio's feeling the pain. Echo Fox looking to try and finish a job that they started many minutes ago here. This first turret of the game as this minion wave pushes on forward. Aloha is positioning aggressively, but a good Giffian's Wall will stop him from going forward. Doesn't matter. Turret falls. Aloha not quite able to find a killing blow even now on the run. As Call the Meek looking to put the pressure on. Gauntlet Walls though, it connects, and Mixi, he gets dropped. Call the Meek, he's stuck inside as well, and it will be the second casualty of the fight. 3-0 for Immortals. They may have lost their turret. They're able to find the kills.
Maybe even the gold mine. Lone Delphi is lurking there. I would quite like to see a Glimmer Shot coming out, but I actually don't think that's going to happen. Immortals getting into position to body block that right now, and actually this is probably quite a good outcome for Lone Delphi there. He's able to clear the wave, preventing him from taking down that turret, but that does give Immortals just a gold advantage for now. Just a little bit ahead, just 1k gold there.
Yeah, no, the gold lead being built up via kills so far, as well as some of the CS differences that are starting to become apparent. apparent in the lane here for Dienzio, keeping up the pressure as he finishes off a Tyrant's Monocle as that unfolded earlier. So breaking point Tyrant's Monocle for the Vox, looking for a second one very shortly to hit that 3-item spike. A one-shot will land. Lone Delphi has not missed any of those yet. Dienzio surely feeling the pain. Glimmer Shot starting to tear through as well. Echo Fox, they have the poke, they have the damage, but can they find a kill for themselves? As Mixi going to channel that Hellfire Brew straight onto Dienzio. He's starting to burn away. The Vanguard shield didn't quite connect in time to stop the initial impact, burning him away. Now, Fox, an opportunity. Everyone's low. The Glimmer Shots are connecting. They're going to fall back here.
They absolutely are. I'm just thinking about what we might be seeing in the next few minutes. And as Vains, when he does get his gauntlet back, that's actually a really good time for them to be start to fight. Because Echo Fox, they have the advantage in terms of poking and applying pressure, whereas Immortals, what they need to be doing in those team fights is just engaging. If they can get the gauntlet down, because right now Mixi does not have that reflex block, and Lone Delphi's just picked it up. So if they are able to catch Mixi out, that's a really quick and easy kill that they are able to get, because what Immortals want to do is they want to be fighting at close range, and the gauntlet enables that.
It does. It enables it a lot, but we've seen already that if they take too much damage at the beginning of the fight, they can't initiate. And look at this, the root, the impale, it's Dienzio falling. And now the one shot to try and find Vains won't necessarily land, but a singular kill. This is the problem that Immortals are facing. Despite being 3 kills up, the pressure game is all on Echo Fox right now. They can continue to poke out, and maybe they have to be careful here. The Gauntlet Wards connect onto 2. Great stuff from Vains, but they're continuing the fight. The Cactive Camo providing a bit of damage, and that's going to be Cold-A-Meek joining his team. Huge on point, connects on 3. Aloha just needs to land some more abilities, and he will have himself a cleanup. That's the first already onto Cold-A-Meek, looking for Lone Delphi, who goes active camo, but a snipe! And there's Vains finishing him off. Beautiful stuff from Aloha to find the invisible Kestrel.
Yeah, it was. And it was a really good kill pickup. The Immortals have picked up 2 kills so far. They're getting the whole jungle of Echo Fox right now. And we're just seeing them right now with 1.7k gold lead. I think they could easily push down that turret in the next few minutes, especially with Mixi. He's a little bit low. He's using the Hellfire Brew on the DNC. Oh my gosh, another one-shot, 1 kill there.
Man, despite the fact that Echo Fox is not necessarily active on the scoreboard, you could say. You know, the 5-1 currently to Immortals. They're landing consistent damage on Dienzio. He's only missed 1 Glimmer Shot, and that was after Dienzio died. So whenever Dienzio has been alive, the prime target for one of those one-shots, they have hit 100%. Lone Delphi, if he continues that, and then can continue the Glimmer Shots from a range, Echo Fox is still in this with a fighting chance.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're doing really well in terms of the poking game. A little bit behind, actually. Looks like we might be seeing a little bit more aggression coming out now. One thing I do want to be seeing coming out from Vains right now is the War Treads. He's on his way there, just a few hundred gold off. But I think once he does pick up the War Treads, it's so much easier for them just to catch up to Mixi and Lone Delphi there. That's exactly what they need to be doing. But I do feel Lone Delphi's a little bit out of place here in terms of positioning.
He is, but he's landing the damage. That is
Yeah,
going to be one shot onto Aloha, so not a bad place for it as well. It is going to be Immortals falling back here as Echo Fox look to continue the poking game. Immortals trying to force Echo Fox into a scenario where they fought split, but Echo Fox, they kept their cool about them, just threw Glimmer Shots from afar. Forces Immortals back.
Exactly. I just feel like if Mortals, if you just change their mindset, just become a little bit more aggressive. Right now, we are just seeing them backing away from the fights a lot more. I guess Aloha is quite low health right now. Probably not the best time for them to be looking for those fights, but Surfman was all 3 of them.
Oh no, Dienzio rooted up by the tree, and that's a lot of free damage that went their way. Now Echo Fox, they put out the Glimmer Shots, just waiting for that one shot to come back up in just a couple of seconds. Here goes the Gauntlet Walls though, Immortals want the fight, Dienzio, he's low, wait for it, silences up this Kestrel, but she escapes for now, trying to throw the Glimmer Shots down, but she can't quite connect them. That leaves the rest of the team disengaging. Echo Fox not quite able to find the kill, but here's the one shot and it finds Dienzio as he's purchasing a Tyrant's Monocle. Not the time to be shopping, my friend. Cheeky one shots, he just
Feels
doesn't
bad.
miss.
Feels really bad, man. I've got to say that must like he's just be
They're
caught out
not
by
done
that
yet,
one
they're
shot.
going to look for more
Oh, no,
Kyushin
Aloha.
ears. Aloha gets knocked back, it's going to be Vane's the main target now as this Black Feather's so mobile. Echo Fox looking to try and get more for their buck here, but they can't start up this Crystal Miner. Too risky. So Recall's going to go through some more item purchases as they reset their health and energy bars.
Yeah, we do see it makes you just pick up the infusion there. Just looking at the CS there, one thing that kind of worries me, Mixi, his CS is 113, and DNZO, his counterpart, is 141. I think that's a major lag if you're looking at it in terms of CS. It's a bit worrying, and I noticed that in the last game as well. He's a little bit behind, and if you're looking at his items, he is almost full build yet. Well, not quite. He still needs to get that Tyrants, but once he does pick up the Tyrants, we'll be seeing a little bit more of the damage coming out. But right now, I feel like the main damage outputter, I guess, is Lone Delphi.
And an interesting build from Lone Delphi as well. Frostburn, Eve of Harvest, and building towards the Broken Myth next by the looks of it on this Kestrel. Prioritizing the energy regen on that Eve of Harvest as well as a bit of sustain as well. So very safe build, means that he doesn't have to be too defensive. Good Impale though, lands onto 2. A lot of poke going on to Aloha as well. The one shot, this time will not connect for Lone Delphi. Only the second he's missed so far can excuse it, but Fox, they need to be careful. They need to wait for their abilities to come back up. 25 seconds. Actually, no! Never mind. The Bros offensive, or defensive you could say, blocking up that Impale means that Aloha will be safe, but as long as Lone Delphi can land the Glimmer shots, it's going to be Immortals on the back foot here as they dance back and forth over this Kraken, being started up by a Scout Trapper as well. That's an extra damage that Immortals do not want to face.
This is very frustrating to watch right now.
One shot's ready.
Ooh, no.
We land it. There's the Impale. It's on to 2. The Glimmer shot's starting to tear up. Lone Delphi gonna throw it out onto Aloha as it connects. That's gonna force Immortals right back here. They can't afford to fight on such HP. What will Echo Fox decide to do with these guys out of the fight? Looks like they're just gonna push the lane down.
He does, and this is gonna back. It's very frustrating. All I'm seeing is Immortals just taking a lot of damage. They're being very passive in the way they play DNZ.
Will he escape is the question. Just about gets away. War Tread's coming up huge for the Vox. Echo Fox's pressure. They put these guys into a cooker and just continuing to burn Immortals down. This turret taking a lot of damage. Lone Delphi certainly chunking away at it as the Hellfire Brew gonna land down, but there's the Gauntlet. They're able to escape, not forcing the fight, unfortunately, for Immortals. That's just gonna be Echo Fox disengaging.
Yeah, not much out from that little skirmish there. If you just look at it, it's remarkably close. I think it's only just over 1k gold there. We do see the infusions coming out. I think this might be a really good time for Mortals to be fighting, seeing as Echo Fox aren't infused right now. But they, again, Gauntlet 70 seconds cooldown. I don't know what engagement's going to be seeing. It's going to miss there.
Yeah, just looking for a bit of damage onto DNZO on the back line. Wasn't to connect. Both the jungle and carry recalling there. Immortals didn't have vision of it. It's
Call.
going to be a crystal
What you
infusion.
doing, Call?
He's just poking out. Wants to make sure that they're not taking the Kraken without his say-so. Bit of
He's
vision.
on the wrong side.
He will regroup with his team here as Lone Delphi and Mixture.
Regrouping, really?
At the moment, Immortals are attempting to find someone out of position. A bit of a pause will come through though, so a chance at this 18-minute mark here should need to start breaking down the action and trying to plot where we go from here.
Well, it's a much closer to game than last time. I mean, at this time last game, it was already over. But if you look at the scoreboard 5-2, it's very, very... It's not as much... There's not much focus on team fights, and Echo Fox are doing exactly what we want them to be doing, which is applying a lot of pressure. The Glimmer shots coming from Lone Delphi have been on point every single time, as well as the one-shot, one-kills. And that's exactly what they've been doing. We do have Call to make there ready with his Githian wall to push them away if they do try and dive onto them. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is that Immortals... Their engagements have been lackluster at best in this game, which is a bit disappointing for me.
Yeah, no, they haven't quite been able to get properly onto Echo Fox here. Echo Fox, they're not looking for a full-on engage. They're more wanting to whittle away Immortals over time with the Glimmer shots, with the one-shots, and then as soon as they get someone low enough that they can blow them up, that's when they look for the Impales for the engage. Immortals, they need to be playing a more all-in style. You know, Vox, with his wait for it, can silence up the whole crew. But Gauntlet's going to force the entirety of Echo Force into an isolated area. And that's exactly where Black Clover is just going to be able to dance around the team fight and start to really chunk people down.
Completely agree. And if you look at Lone Delphi there, all he has is that reflex block. He doesn't have that much defense, and we do see the flares and the Skychaps there in Vayne's inventory. And if they are able to catch out Lone Delphi, who's just doing so much damage there with the glimmer shots, then that is a great opportunity for them to turn around a fight. But every time they have even the slightest opening, what they just do is they just back away, and they just keep backing away, and they just keep losing objectives that way.
Well, we'll find out what this pause is about very shortly. It is one of the players must be experiencing connection issues. Rarely use the pause button here. It's only in cases of emergency, so you know that it's for an important reason. But for Immortals, they came into game 1 and they completely dominated Echo Fox with quite a creative composition. You know, something that we haven't seen very often here in the Vainglory 8. Echo Fox, we made the point at the beginning of the game, we'll make it again here as we continue the pause. They still are pointless. They haven't got a single point yet in the previous games. So they're wanting to continue continue in this split and get some points on the board.
It's definitely looking very promising for them this game, and they have such a good chance. They have a really good chance for winning this game right now. They're doing it very well. Their execution is very strong, especially from Lone Delphi. I think his performance on this Crystal Kestrel has been exceptional, and if they can continue this way, then it's fantastic. But right now, Mixi, he's very far forward, and Immortals are very close if you do look at the positioning on the map right now.
Certainly is. Well, right now.
Oh. Uh-oh. Well, that turned.
Might have to take it for me as I'm experiencing technical difficulties on my end.
I see. Well, Immortals do take the Kraken, and I think there was absolutely no reason for Echo Fox to suspect this. This is not the outcome that they're wanting. And I think there's a really good chance here of Immortals just getting that first turret here. And Kraken's almost there yet. And I think right now, actually, with Echo Fox's composition, they have a really good chance of just forcing Immortals back and just taking that Kraken as fast as they can. But actually, I don't think they're going to save that first turret.
Coming around from the side. He's going to try and dive in. The Gauntlet Wards go down, trapping Cole the Meek, but he uses his reflex bot to get out here. Immortals, they're trying to force the fight onto Echo Fox. Don't want the Kraken to drop, but a good Impale going to force Dienzio to retreat just a little bit. This turret, it is falling low, and actually Mixi falls completely back, as is Aloha. Fight on all angles here, but Immortals are going to give up the chase, allow this Kraken to be taken. 2 turrets 4, and that is an advantage going over to Immortals.
Yeah, that's a lot. It was just a bit of a misplay there coming out from Echo Fox, not realizing that they were on the Kraken the whole time. They've just completely swung the whole game with that one Kraken, and oh, that is not what they want. That is absolutely not what they want right now. It's not looking great. It's actually just completely balanced everything out for both of the teams now with that one Kraken.
It certainly does. As Immortals now in a position that they can look to try and contest a bit of gold for them, as they're starting to build up into a pretty strong point here. Want to see Dienzio try to avoid the damage. It sounds easy on paper, but it's definitely not, as Lone Delphi has been quite the sniper on this Kestrel. But Immortals, they can't afford to allow early poke, and they want to try and just engage an all-in fight here. Bit of interesting positions. Immortals, they can just run the minion wave down the lane a little bit. There's going to be this Kestrel stealthing on up, trying to find a sneaky position here. Not being spotted out just yet. Mixi is going to channel this Hellfire Brew straight onto Dienzio. The poke going down onto this box, but the fight, Immortals won it. Straight onto Mixi, Aloha doing the damage. That's the Gauntlet going to serve the fight up, but Vanes, he gets dropped, and that's a good Giffian's Wall to push Dienzio away, but not before he secures the kill. 2 kills go Dienzio's way. It just leaves Lone Delphi, but the Crystal Sentry, he's back, the real MVP, and now Aloha is trying to outrun this Kestrel. Glimmer shot, but he gets the shield. 1 shot available, but it's the wrong direction. And unfortunately for Lone Delphi, he won't be finding the ace for his team.
So close there. He's been so on point with his 1-shot 1 kills every single time. That one just went way off the mark there. And what a fight that was, actually. The silence coming up from Vox was really nicely blocked by the individual agencies that the MVO had. And the individual blocks that Mixi had. And they turned that around. The gauntlet was really good, but Lone Delphi, I think this is the thing about Crystal Castro in those team fights, is that she needs to take a bit of time out and just allow the 4 Glimmer Shots to just kind of reload again before she can enter back in the fight, because when she's using her 4 Glimmer Shots, there's not much that she can do.
Certainly isn't. Has to recharge this weapon power Crystal, Kestrel even. Crystal power Kestrel, man, words just didn't come out in the right order there. Or at all, in fact. But it is this damage that has to be reset, you know, it has to recharge those Glimmer Shots. We're going to see the Kraken respawn. Another time for these guys to fight over it. That Glimmer Shot, one shot unfortunately won't connect onto anyone, but has such a short cooldown that it can be thrown out whenever. Gonna be Echo Fox just falling back here. And Delphi was spotted on that scout trap. Trying to land the poke damage, but a singular team fight could start it all up. Unfortunately for Echo Fox, no one was around to put the damage onto Dienzio.
Feels like the tempo of this game has completely changed. It does feel that Echo Fox are being a little bit more passive. They're being a little bit more careful with how they're positioning themselves. Oh, Vane's taking a lot of damage there.
And Delphi does have that one shot available once more, but everyone was split. Allow it to pass on through. No damage to be connected just yet. When the shots go out, Lone Delphi has to be careful of his energy bar. Doesn't want to deplete it just yet, but Eva Harvest, Halcyon charges, does mean that it recharges very quickly. The Mortals, they sense the vulnerability of Fox. Look for an engage. Doesn't quite connect with anyone just yet. They weren't sure where Lone Delphi was. Didn't want to pull the trigger on a gauntlet. So once more, they're forced back here. As the one shot doesn't recharge, where does Lone Delphi place it this time? Everyone taking lots of damage. Glimmer Shots will be connecting onto the back line. There it is, straight onto Vane's. Key target, key initiator for Immortals. Very low HP. That's going to force Immortals to recall here, get back into their jungle, look for some HP. As Fox are able to control this jungle area around the Kraken, even started up.
Maybe we're going to be seeing a Kraken being taken by Echo Fox right now. Actually, it looks like we might be seeing a bit of challenge coming up from Immortals. Whoa, they come into the gauntlet. Oh, God. Okay, that was
Not in the
gauntlet.
right position whatsoever. Vane's completely missing that one, whiffing it away. But more importantly, for Immortals, they do stop the Kraken. One shot will connect onto Dienzio. It looks like Immortals want to start the fight. They're going straight on in, and the wait for it's doing the damage. Oh, Dienzio's tearing on through. Aloha will find Mixi, and it's not all done yet. There's a huge active camo, but it doesn't quite find any follow-up. Lone Delphi out of Glimmer Shots. Maybe can find Vanes, and he will. Impressive stuff coming out of Lone Delphi, but the energy bar on this Kestrel so low. A 1-for-1. The two people traded their Mixi for Vanes. Not an even trade, but it will be enough to force these guys to head back to base, charge back up, get ready for the next fight.
Yeah, you pointed at the low energy bars there on Lone Delphi, and actually even at the start of the fight, he was about half, his energy bars were about half full even at that point. And even though they were able to force Dienzio and Aloha back, they really can't do too much. They can't take the Kraken because Lone Delphi, his power comes from his abilities, and if he has no energy, he isn't able to do anything. So even though that was a good attempt in terms of the team fight approach, they weren't able to take any objectives off the back of that.
Well, Mixi now back onto the fold here. Will be another setup around this Kraken. This game is almost 10 minutes longer than the predecessor, where Immortals just charged right through, unstoppable. Echo Fox putting up a good case for themselves. They're going to have to be able to blow someone up here straight off the bat. That's where Immortals are doing well. That one shot, very close. This time it won't connect onto Dienzio. This late game starting to fall away for Lone Delphi, not quite being able to connect the ultimate abilities on this Kestrel.
It's just a very, very slow approach coming up from both games right now. I think it's just really taken a back seat in the past few minutes there. We are seeing a bit more vision being put down by both sides. Column now has that contraption, so we are seeing a little more in the central area of the jungle, but Vanes gets caught out.
Lots of damage, and the Impale to have come through as well. They're throwing the Health Stallion through to Dienzio. He's separated. Aloha not quite there for the fight, and a lot of damage going down. One shot won't connect, but Kolamik is on the chase, looking to try and catch someone out here. Look how fast this Kestrel is! Dienzio, you're in trouble! The Lone Delphi won't just pull the trigger, unfortunately. Or fortunately for Dienzio, so That Fox does get to go back to base, buy up a crystal, a weapon infusion for himself. Once more, Echo Fox, they get so close to killing someone. They're just not finding that killing blow onto anyone.
Really not, and it's. I think they were really scared. Like you said before, they're sitting on 0 points. They really need this 1 point just to make it through. Actually, it looks like we're going to be seeing Vox coming back, full health, full energy, and also infusion. And oh, you get stunned!
There's going to be too much that comes from it. One shot won't land onto anyone either.
I feel like we
Fox.
jinxed him.
Yeah, doesn't
Every-
miss a shot, this guy.
Yeah, and then like every single one shot is just not quite hitting the mark, just, but not quite. Oh dear, I feel
He's
quite
going
bad
for
now.
stuff that's a little bit more adventurous, you know. The sideways
Yeah,
shots are a
you're
lot
right.
harder than the
Straight up
on
and down.
shots. So, you know, he is trying to be a little bit more adventurous with his abilities here. It's going to be Fox trying to start the fight though in their jungle. Crystal Sentry making his way over to join in the fun. Aloha already so low. No, Delphi does have that one shot available. He wants to throw it out. There it is. Straight onto Veins. They're going to try and initiate the fight. Dienzio, wait for it, goes out. Gauntlet as well. But they're going to block it all up. And now the Glimmer shots are tearing right through. If only Lone Delphi can connect 2 more, he will find a couple of kills for themselves. But once more, Immortals are forced back. It's deja vu. A repetitive story. But it is the story that Echo Fox are currently writing.
Well, both teams have backed off. It is interesting to note that if you look at it, Call the Make, he was forced to use Infusion. Vayne still had his Infusion system there at the end of the team fight, and I think if Immortals had just stayed, and the only reason that they left was I think that DNZO was quite low on energy. No, who was it? Somebody went back because they were low on energy from the side of Immortals there. But that, I feel like Immortals could have just stayed for that fight and just pushed it on a little bit longer, but we didn't really see that happening. This is a very long game actually for these two teams.
Certainly is. About to hit that 30-minute mark. Mixi has finished his metal jacket as well to try and tank up some of the damage Dienzio is throwing out. Here comes the Hellfire Brew. It's going to land straight onto Dienzio here. Nothing to block it up. Going to force Immortals right back on in. The Kraken, it's been started, and Aloha unfortunately tanking it up for his team, as is Dienzio. A lot of damage coming out from the Kraken here. She wants
Where's
in.
Cole?
Aloha will block the Impale, but where's Cole the Meek? In Vayne's, in fact, he's nowhere to be seen for his team, and that's going to give a start here for Echo Fox to start up the Kraken, and only Vayne's in position to steal this one away. It's starting to go down, not so quick though. In fact, Vayne's presence was enough to stop Echo Fox from continuing on the damage. They probably could have finished it before Dienzio and Aloha reached the fight, but they decided to play respectfully at this 30-minute mark. A single fight gone wrong could cost you the game.
Well, Lone Delphi's gone back, and right now it is. They're all quite separated on the map right now, especially Lone Delphi. I hope he gets back. Oh, he's fine. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I can relax.
Dienzio's all by himself in lane. Echo Fox know he's up there. He looks to try and land damage onto Aloha, but despite getting into position, of course, this Perfect can dance straight out with that Rose offensive, blocks up any disables. Delphi taking consistent damage from the on points. Just away. Aloha is the target as they go on in. The one shot won't connect, but look where Dienzio is. He's taking the choke turret as we speak, and that is just going to fall. A free turret for Immortals in our fight. It's going out, and Mixi, he's caught out. The gauntlet will stick him down. Cole the Meek trying to escape towards Lone Delphi as Lone Delphi puts down the damage. Active camo, it's not going to get onto anyone. Lone Delphi, his energy bar is too low, and he's caught on up. That's going to be him dropping, an ace comes through, and Immortals force the fight around the choke turret now. The buffed up minions crashing straight into the crystal turrets, and 40 seconds left on the death timers. Immortals will just finish this game now in the 32nd minute. A 2-0 series for them. They take the win over Echo Fox, progress to the second day, and once more Echo Fox choked of points in the VG8 split.
An incredibly tantalizing game there for Echo Fox. It was so very close with them. They definitely had the upper hand, I think, for the first 15 minutes of the game, but I think it all just changed when Immortals were able to take that Kraken without them noticing, and it just completely swung the whole tempo there. Oh, Echo Fox remain pointless for now.
The heartbreaking start to the season here for Echo Fox, Mixi, Cole the Meek, Lone Delphi, and of course Fuji, who is coaching the guys out. But the analysts have said it. if any team have the ability to look at what is going wrong and fix it, it has to be Echo Fox. They've got the resources available to them to do so. It's just a case of making sure they do it before it's too late. But Immortals, they're going to be cheering a great birthday present to Sway Generous, who gets that 2-0 for himself and can party on hard to get to celebrate. We're going to throw it over to the analyst desk, though, to throw the celebrations out even further before we head on to our next series.
Thank you very much, guys. Man, what a roller coaster of a game there at the end. It definitely felt like it was seriously difficult for Immortals to break Echo Fox there, but they finally managed to do it at the end.
They did. It was back and forth. I think credit to both teams. They had a fine performance here. At the end of the day, though, it just felt like Echo Fox, it was a little bit harder for them to execute on their draft. And poor Lone Delphi. I mean, I just feel like this guy, he's just such a wonderful playmaker. And the way this game was played out, for him to have a decent fight, his opponents had to be running at him constantly. And they were never setting the tempo, setting the pace of the game. It felt really rough.
Yeah, there were a couple times when it did happen, and we thought like that was going to be the moment. Like there was one fight down by the Crystal Sentry. We were like, oh, that's the turnaround, a huge active ammo. But then they weren't able to follow up on it because they'd just taken too much damage previously and a couple other situations.
Yeah, let's actually have a look at a replay here. I want you to notice at the start of this frame here, look at the top right. Dienzio actually runs all the way to the turret and pushes it by himself whilst his teammates distract Echo Fox. And I feel like this was a critical moment. This was the moment where they strategized a way of dealing with him.
Yeah, and as we get through this clip, you can see the rest of the team is still just coming up to deter the members of Echo Fox from being able to get onto that fight. A beautiful gauntlet comes down. They immediately get the kill on Mixi. That's something that they have been looking to do all series, is just take Mixi out of the fights immediately, kill the Meek Falls, and then it's just a matter of chasing down Lone Delphi. And they are able to close it out and then finish off the game on the back of that fight. Again, it's just kind of the way they were playing all game.
I mean, yeah, that was good on so many levels. They actually got an Atlas off on Mixi, too. They killed him before the Atlas timed out. So poor Mixi, I think he could have respawned with the Atlas still on him. That was a rough game, rough life, and I don't know. Should Fuji be coaching or playing at this point?
Wow. I mean, so I actually think it's really interesting, though, at the end of that game, because we rarely ever see games that go that long and where one team is stalled out so hard. I mean, Echo Fox, they weren't doing anything aggressive. They were just turtling. And knowing what to do in that situation is super hard. There was a real paradigm shift in how Immortals were playing towards the end of that game. I think Echo Fox, if they'd reacted to it appropriately, would have actually just given up the turret, backed, and then it maybe would have happened again later. But trying to fight there was so risky.
Yeah, and kind of what you said about we don't normally see games go that long while a team is being starved out that heavily. I think part of it was just the threat of Lone Delphi with this Kestrel, because he did set up a couple of really good active camos. There's that little bit of fear from Immortals of knowing, okay, if we push too hard, we might get caught out in a fight and then give them the opportunity to get back into the game. So I think Immortals just played that game exactly the way that they had to.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to do a giveaway real quick. If you want to win some epic keys, type the name of the winning team from our first series in North America in all lowercase and all one word into the Twitch chat. When we're back, we've got another great series for you guys. It's going to be Hammers versus Rogue. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory 8. My name is Action Jackson, here with Humanist and Tasty Bacon. We've got some more great games coming up for you. Up next, Hammers Esports up against Rogue. This is going to be an interesting one.
It really is. Rogue making it to day 2 last week, doing a pretty good job. Hammers getting shut out and looking to prove something here.
Absolutely. I feel like Hammers, we had a lot of debate about them as a team on the desk before. I am of the opinion that they are very, very, very inconsistent, and that's a huge problem moving forwards. But I know that a lot of people have a lot of hype behind starting all over.
I'm one of them. I think I'm definitely one of the people in Starting's corner. I think anybody that's watched him play to his highest level should be on the same train. And part of the problem, like you said, consistency, right? He's a young guy, though, so I think that will come with time. So I was actually thinking about this team a lot this week, and starting, it really does kind of hinge around him. But he's got 2 players, with him, T-Tigers, Chicken, that I feel like they're consistently performing. Like, you can always expect out of them. But I don't think they will ever play to the level that Starting actually plays, which is crazy when I'm talking about T-Tigers. But that's actually how much faith I have in this kid. But he's got to work for it. He has to, show up day in, day out during the week, put in that extra time.
Yeah, I said last week, and I caught a bit of flack from it from a certain 2 people on this desk, but I said Hammers, when they are on their game, when Starting All Over is playing to the best of his abilities and T-Tigers and Chicken are playing at that consistent level you mentioned, they are one of the best teams in North America. The problem is, as you mentioned just now, AJ, that inconsistency. They don't always play at that level, and last week they definitely were not at that level.
All right, well, let's have a look at their roster now. We've talked about them at great length here. Chicken 123 Starting All Over, and T-Tigers with the substitute player Max Green. This is a very, I feel like it's a very divisive lineup, honestly, because you can look at this lineup and you can say star-studded talent with a huge upside potential, or you can say players who were like, their heyday was a few seasons ago, like T-Tigers, or you could say players who never really broke out onto the scene, and why is that? I think there's honestly good arguments either way. It's a really interesting team.
You could say Mowgli's heyday was a couple seasons ago as well, but I think that would not be fair to him as a player. You have success as a team overall, and these guys need to put it together. Like I said, I think being young is a major factor in this, especially because it comes down to starting.
All right, well, they're going to be playing up against Rogue. We've got Evol, Hammy, Sibs, and Graskun.
And this is another roster that is kind of similar, where you look at it and you have some people who are going to be like, this is an amazing lineup. This is a lot of talent here. And then you have some people who are going to look at it and be like, eh. And I think there's a lot to prove from this Rogue lineup. They definitely took some good steps last week, getting into day 2, having a couple strong performances. But this is another team where the consistency, I think, is the biggest concern I have about them.
Definitely.
All right, so with these 2 teams coming up against one another and both having sort of similar issues in some ways, do you think the draft is going to reflect this? Because I remember we were talking about, like, okay, Hammers, we have this disagreement about maybe, like, how strong they are or what have you. But one thing I definitely agree with you on, Humanist, is what you mentioned about building the team around Starting All Over.
Yeah, I told you I was spending some time thinking about this team this weekend, and I came to I don't think it's ultimately the game ending decision, like the end game goal. That's what I wanted to say. For them to run this particular style of draft and this particular style of game. But I think for right now, they could beat almost any team if they ran a hyper carry draft centered around Starting All Over with the goal of setting the pace of the game and running at you. And if his teammates are not holding back or playing with any fear at all, if they follow Starting into battle, there's a good chance they'll run teams over.
All right, well, let's head into the draft and see if Hammers Esports echoes Humanist's thoughts here. They are going to need to think about what sort of draft gets them there. We saw a hyper carry Baron earlier on today in Europe do very, very well. So there are drafts that exist in the meta right now that make sense there. Flicker as a first ban, that's pretty strange.
Flicker is one of only 2 heroes across all of Vainglory 8 that has 100% win rate. Again, pretty small sample size, but it's still a fact.
What Flicker does very well is shut the lane down, and if your team is dependent on having a very good laning situation, I think that's a decent pair.
So I'm just getting word, by the way, that Chicken123 is not starting today. Max Green is starting in his place.
Okay. That's That's going to be interesting. I don't have a whole lot of information about Max Green. We've seen him on a couple challenger level teams, and obviously the team is comfortable enough to have him as their backup player. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of effect that makes into the match today. The Ringo ban, I do want to touch on real quick for Rogue. That is just a huge pickup for starting all over. So they're completely just taking that off the board, making sure he doesn't get the opportunity to take it.
I'd really like to see this Adagio go to starting all over, I think. I feel like he's definitely one of those players that can make it work. And if you get into a bad situation, arguably having the heal followed by a massive AoE stun can get you out of it.
Well, I mean, half the time, Adagio, like, he wants to be in that bad, what we normally consider to be a bad situation, because then he just puts the heal on himself, gets the Gift of Fire down onto multiple targets. So maybe he can capitalize on some of the
problem
positions.
is, like, starting, I think, is their best player. He's also their most aggressive player. And he almost has to have, like, a hyper carry that can initiate at the same time. And Adagio can't. So I'm not saying that, like, he wouldn't do good on it, but and I don't know if there is even the perfect hero for him with all those characteristics. But I think that's what it comes down to if we're looking for Hammers to win.
Well, we'll see what they decide to take off the board as their second ban, putting a lot of thought into it once that glaive came away. I mean, again, you have to assume the Lyra was open, so you assume the Lyra's going to get picked up. And so now they're just trying to decide what they don't want Rogue to have.
Using a lot of their bonus time on this ban in particular, it's always tough to decide, okay, they've got the Lyra, what do we definitely not want to pair with it? Because there's so many things that go well with the Lyra. I think with the Adagio on their team, I might even take away something like a Kroll. You know, like Kroll is good into the Adagio, it's good with the Lyra.
Sib's talk last week was pretty dirty.
Yeah, that's another one for sure.
Also brings out the Mortal Wound, negates some of that healing coming out of the Adagio.
Might we see a Fortress this game? Has been popular, at least today.
Oh, I'm telling you. That's the kind of draft that Hammers need. They need like an Adagio Fortress +1. Run at you.
I would actually really like to see the Fortress come out from Rogue here. Put Fortress with a Lyra.
Oh, yeah.
That is so much movement speed.
Oh,
Like
that's
you're not getting away from anything.
No.
So
What would you finalize it with? I mean, would you're putting the Captain Lyra in with the Jungle Fortress, and then what it goes to the lane?
Well, you could grab a Vox right now.
Yeah. Vox is open with the Ringo band. I think Vox would be a solid pickup. Gwen could work as well. You have plenty of options there, but we'll see. They're definitely taking their time now. Rogue after the Taka ban, so maybe they were thinking of that Taka.
It's going to be the Vox. I mean, they're playing the numbers here, honestly. This is a very strong pick right now.
Right, they have the two, when you factor in heroes that have had more than seven games or more played, Lyra and Vox are the two winningest. So right now the numbers are favoring Rogue.
We just play the numbers. That's all we do.
I would love to see a team just like purely only draft like the heroes that have the highest win rates.
And then one game they get out-drafted and they just fold. Or done. Well, there's
your
Fortress. I like this. I think this makes a ton of sense. And I think,
really like
you know,
this.
you're saying with Hammer specifically, it fits. I almost wish they'd picked the Lyra, though, because then they could have done Lyra with the move speed with Fortress like you were saying, and I feel like that would have been really good for Hammers.
I hope this is a Captain Adagio.
And the Jungle Fortress and then something in the lane here.
Yeah, like, and this is where you pull the Gwen or something else. That's not the route they're going to take. It's going to be just
Alpha
fine.
and Lyra, I mean, we see this so frequently not work out.
Yeah, not only that, but does this mean it's going to be a weapon alpha, or are we going to see double crystal come through? Because I don't see Adagio or Fortress going weapon power.
Weapon would be fine. I think Weapon would be fine. You get the lifesteal coming out of Fortress. That'll be great. You can get the healing coming out of Adagio as needed. And it's just a front line you have to deal with. I mean, this is T-Tigers you're talking about here.
Yeah. I think Weapon Alpha is the way I'd go on this comp, to be honest. And I think something we got to acknowledge at the very least is that of the sort of frontline tankier, bruisery heroes, Alpha's probably one of the better ones suited to dealing with a Vox, because you have a lot of jumps on a very low cooldown. So yes, Bright Bulwark is going to be a problem there, but when it's on cooldown for like 17, 18 seconds, and then you just stick on top of the Vox.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because I don't know if we've actually had a weapon alpha thus far in Vainglory 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we have.
I think all of them have been crystal thus far, so this will be the first one, assuming that it does end up going that route. You know, a lot of people do just feel like the Crystal Alpha is a lot better. But sometimes, you know, these build paths that most teams aren't expecting end up being able to work really well. And again, this is a situation where I like the weapon Alpha. Petal going to be the final pick for Rogue. That's an interesting lineup they've got there. Not a lot of tankiness, but a good amount of sustain.
Whenever you pile onto someone on Rogue's side, though, those Munions combusting can be pretty effective. You know, it's going to deal damage to Alpha and Fortress, who are trying to dive onto the backline whilst also sustaining their target.
This is tricky. This is a tricky one.
Tricky played earlier, man.
He didn't really.
Oh, wow.
Love you, Tricky.
That was cold.
I don't think the feeling's going to be mutual after that one.
Whatever. Don't show up on the overall #1 rated team in the community and not perform as well as your teammates.
Fair enough. But let's look at this match. Returning to it. Who is going to take this one, do you guys think? Based on the comps, game 1, maybe not the whole series, just game 1 I want to hear about.
I think Rogue takes it.
It's sort of, I want to say Hammer so badly, but I'm just, the fact that starting all over is so inconsistent with his positioning, it just really makes me shy away from picking them.
And that's the thing, I'm sorry, that's the thing that makes you shy away, not like probably a weapon Alpha?
No.
Okay.
I don't think there's much of an issue with the weapon Alpha. In fact, I think I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week. I said he was going to fix the issues after game #1. I think during the week, he probably, I hope, put in some work. I think he fixes the issues. I'm going Hammers.
All right, well, let's see if he has made it happen. Keep your eyes on starting all over as we head onto the Halcyon Fold with Dalsy and Jingyi.
This is very interesting, as you say. We do have the Hammers lineup here with so much talent, but perhaps a little bit of inconsistency can hold them back. It is going to be them going forward, and make note of the Dragon Blood contract that Max Green has purchased on this fortress. They're going to be looking for a little bit of early aggression onto Rogue, and we'll be able to steal away this tree and straight off the bat here. It's not over yet, man. Hammers want blood, and blood they will find as first blood goes to T-Tigers, and now he's looking for Sips as well. Leave the Petal alone. She's just a cute little UFO alien trying to fly away to her turrets, but it's not going to happen. They focus onto Evo, looking for their second kill, and they'll find it. A third, perhaps, they will get as well. Amazing aggression comes out of Hammers, and a 3-0 before you even get to say a word, Jingyi.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But what we have to think about is how much are they going to get out of this? I mean, right now we do see T-Tigers lurking inside of, oh my gosh, what was I going to say? Yeah, we see him in the opposing jungle, and oh no, he does teleport back in time, but he only gets 1 minion out of that actually, which I don't think is the best. Like, what did they really get out of that? They're about 800 gold ahead, but in terms of jungle pressure, it's not that great. But nonetheless, a fantastic start, and it certainly will help with the mindset. Actually, I was going to talk about something else.
I was a little bit interested. You know, Max Green is here. He's substituting for Chicken 123 at the moment for Hammers, and I was wondering how that would affect them coming into this game. You know, this matchup between Rogue and Hammers, both these teams fairly evenly lined up as far as, you know, my personal placements on the ladder. So this game could be really crucial in dictating positional advantage further down in the season.
Yeah, definitely. But what I really want to talk to you about, and this is what's Nintendo's point, but with that Fortress and with that Alpha coming out of Hammer Esports, it's a very, very heavy dive comp. And it's something I know the analyst desk personally hates, but I think a Crystal Vox could actually work really well in this situation, because the power specs coming out from Hammer Esports does rely a lot on the attack of the pack. And with T-Tigers and Max Green in melee range, the Resonance will do so much damage, but I don't think we're going to be seeing that happening. But it is certainly something I would like to see at some point with maybe another Vox Fortress matchup, but maybe not for this one.
Well, will be Max Green looking for a little bit of aggression onto Evolve here. The Lyra, very good at poking out, but T-Tigers is also here for Hammers to provide the pressure game. Will be looking to port back to base, but stopped up by Evo, a bit cheeky there on the Lyra to stop the ports, and that means T-Tigers is forced to go back to his jungle and farm on up. Is it going to be this weapon power? It does look like it will be a weapon power alpha. I don't know, man. I guess I understand that they have to vary their damage and what sources it's coming from, but weapon power alpha, I just haven't seen as much success on it.
Yeah, it's not something I'm overly fond of, and I think with that weapon alpha, you might even want to consider getting an extra Shiver Steel as well, just stay on top of them, just get that sustained damage over time. But we'll have to see how it goes. I mean, I think the alpha definitely scales up. The weapon alpha scales up a little bit longer than the crystal alpha does. But again, it's just something. Both teams are there, just definitely playing out. It looks like we're gonna be seeing that weapon Vox. I'm a little bit sad about that. It would have been fun to see a crystal Vox, but probably wouldn't work out too well in the end.
Right, yeah, and fun, but perhaps not effective here for Rogue as they're grouping up hammers. Choke point, Hammy trying to lay a bit of damage down, but unfortunately at this early stage of the game, doesn't quite have any damage built up yet. Breaking point not finished for this box just yet. We do see the jungle intensify as we hit the 4-minute mark, and that's going to call for starting all over and Max Green to make their way down to this jungle shop, purchase up, and head back over to lane, ready for some more fun. Frostburn, it's finished here for Sibs on the Petal. That is a very early Frostburn as well.
Yeah, very early, but it'll be really effective there for them just to get some extra damage on top of them. It's... okay, so I'm just looking at this and everything's just very funny. We're seeing Evil going for the Crucible first. I was personally expecting a Fountain, but I think the Crucible makes sense, especially going into that carry Adagio, that Verse of Judgment. If you do catch all three of them, will do a lot. So it is a good pickup, and he does have the Imperial Sigil, and as long as he can place it on all the relevant team members, it should be alright for the first part of the game.
Yep, no, I appreciate the reasoning behind it. Just looking to try and sustain using that Imperial Sigil, as you said, block up the damage. But hey, look, here we go. Looks like Hammers want the fight as they dive in. Max Green, he takes a huge amount of damage though, is forced back as T-Tigers is also forced to walk away. They go straight on into Rogue, but it's almost like Rogue is a brick wall. You don't like running into brick walls, trust me, I've tried. Now we're going to see what Hammers can do as the aggression comes out.
They're doing a lot of poke damage onto all three members of Hammer Esports, and actually if you look at Rogue, they're looking very healthy, and that's in part down to the Lyra. And we do have the Adagio with that heal as well, but I think, especially when you're applying lane pressure, because Lyra can get that area of effect heal down, it's so effective when you are trying to get that pressure down.
Diving onto Evolve, putting the damage down, Bright Bullet goes out, but Evolve's going low, and in fact too low. First kill for a very long time. It seems like Hammers, after such early aggression, would find more straight away, but no, Rogue's been patient, and now it's all starting to fall apart. A second go to them as they try to retreat. Sibs looking for Max Green, and it is going to be him using that fountain to escape. Sibs not able to find the killing blow, and now Hammers turn their aggression onto this turret. First brick to fall here for this team as the turret goes down. Sibs diving forward, but not able to trample into victory just yet. T-Tigers may have to use that Termination Protocol to try and trade a bit of damage over, as Sibs is trying to force it with his minions. But starting all over, he's doing a good job. He's attacking them, making sure they die before they blow up all over T-Tigers. And that's going to be 5 kills and a turret already for Hammers.
Very aggressive start for them, and I think the first 3 kills, I think in the first minute of the game, certainly did a lot for them in terms of the mindset that they're going into right now. Rogue, they're doing well. They're just clinging on. I think I'd like to see a little bit more aggression coming up from them. Right now, we're not really seeing that, and I think it will certainly help them a lot more once Evo does pick up that fountain. Getting that extra heal can go a long way, especially because you've got T-Tigers there with our Termination Protocol. It's not the easiest for them, but it's going to be interesting to see how they cope with this in the mid to late game.
No, definitely looking forward to it as Evol starts building in towards a fountain now. The Crucible obviously great for the early blocks. Wasn't great enough though to save Evol's life. This gold miner being started up will go down fairly quickly. Wait, it goes out, but not quite timed enough to steal it away by Hammy. Would have been a pretty miraculous steal if he was able to hit it.
Oh yeah, I was just a little bit too out of range there, a little bit early, but you're absolutely right. Been the steal of the century there, had he got it. And I think we're just right at this moment in time. I think what we're waiting on is Hammy just to scale up a little bit more. He's got that breaking point going. Looks like he's gonna be going for that double Tyrant's build there. Not quite got that Tyrant yet. If you look at Sibs, he's got that still sitting on that Frostburn. I think we are just waiting for that Broken Myth on him right now as well. And the Hammer Esports are still doing a good job of applying that early pressure on. And I feel like Rogue don't really know how to contend with that at the moment.
Currently seem like there are deers in the headlights as a A Shadow Glass going to be completed there for starting all over. Has his 2 items now in favor of this Adagio. Going to start stacking up some damage in the extended fight, so keep your eyes on that. Fountain, it's completed for Evol finally, so a bit of extra healing for the Lyra won't go unnoticed. Now, we want to see Rogue start to unlock this box. Has that breaking point not quite built into the monocles just yet. It's very interesting. You have this Petal who has so much early game presence and a Vox with a lot of late game presence, but currently it seems like Rogue have no presence.
It definitely doesn't. And I think if you look at them, all 3 members, they're ranged heroes. There's not much they can do. And what I think what they need to rely on is just Evol using his bulwark there. So if we do see T-Sagers or Max Beam trying to dive on, just seeing that bulwark coming down and just gives them an opportunity to disengage. Especially with Sibs on the pencil, she's got such a long range, and if she gets a chance to just stack up those broken myth stacks, which she doesn't have yet. And oh, hang on. Never mind.
Nice
All
bright
well.
Pro does disengage, but Sibs, he's caught out in the jungle, and he's just going to get blown up there by T-Tigers. The attack of the pack will go out and spot where Rogue are hiding up under these turrets, but no minion wave means no dive. They'll focus their attentions onto the sentry turret, sentry instead, and now the turret is going to go very low, almost just destroyed immediately as Rogue can't do anything to defend. Burst of Judgment goes out by starting all over just to make sure that Rogue don't try and re-engage, and now Hammer's just to disengage, walk away. Nothing Rogue can do about it.
Yeah, I think they're being a little bit too greedy right now just because T-Tiger is still very full health. Looks like they're not going to be just chasing them after that kill. And it does feel to me that Hammers Esports, they've got a lot of control over the jungle right now. We're seeing them playing a very dominant position in the lane, in the jungle, and certainly with a score of 6-0. They've really ramped up the gold lead there. I think we're sitting at a 6k gold lead right now. And looking at T-Tigers, he's just picked up the Metal Jacket. That is so aggressive. It's all about just getting into Hammy's face. And he's doing that every single time. It's working so well. This is what I really love about T-Tiger, is how aggressive he is.
But what do you think of this Metal Jacket purchase over perhaps an Atlas Pauldron?
So, it's an interesting trade-off because you're not able to slow the attack speed, and especially with that breaking point on the Vox. You want to be able to slow down the attack speed because it makes it just a little bit easier for his other team members. And it's more of a utility-based item, but with this Metal Jacket, I think he's just trying to sustain a little bit longer while he's in their face. I personally would have gone for the Atlas Pauldrons, but I think the Metal Jacket could work as well, but we are seeing this weapon alpha, and we both said that we're not the biggest fan of it, I think, for this particular game.
Well, T-Tigers, he's making it work, showing us up here, 3-0 and 2, and looks like another fight may be brewing around this Crystal Sentry area as Rogue trying to put the pressure down and spot out exactly what Hammers are attempting to do. But as you said, this 6,000 gold lead, it's starting to run away. Hammers in a great position to look to take this first game. It's all up to them as there goes the attack of the pack, and Hammy, he's isolated, trying to get away, but now he's going away from his base, and down he will fall. The kill, it's traded. That's starting all over, going down, and T-Tiger's stuck in a reboot. So now he comes back up, looking for Sibs, trying to dive on, but these minions are doing work. He dives back, but it's going to be him falling. That just leaves Max Green to try to escape, avoid the ace coming through, and avoid he will do. Rogue not quite able to find the ace, but 2 kills go their way in a 2-for-1 trade.
And that's exactly what they need to be looking for. They need to be. I think if you look at the start of the fight, I think it did come down to positioning. If you look at so I think it started off that we did see Sibs and Evil slightly on the wrong side. They really focused on Hammy there, but with the wait for it, they really changed things around because it wasn't blocked. And I think that's the thing, especially when you're playing against the Vox, you do want that wait for it coming. You do have to anticipate that wait for it coming and get.
There's no ability to block it. Starting all over, T-Tigers both without reflex boxes, and Max Green hasn't got a Crucible.
Yeah, you need that Crucible, and they weren't able to block it, which is why I think Rogue were able to turn that around. They picked up the first 2 kills of the game. They were still lagging behind a little bit, but if they can continue to do so whilst Hammers Esports don't have any blocks, then it's fantastic for them. It's such good opportunities to fight.
Well, have to see if the Crucible or some reflex are prioritized here for Hammers. You said, need to be booking that wait for it. It silences the entirety of people hit for a period of time, and I've seen teams just abuse that window of opportunity so much. Last week, Cloud9 played a fantastic composition with a Vox and a Catherine, and the silences were just so real. Unfortunately for Echo Fox, they just didn't have a chance to do anything in the moment. But now, Hammers looking to put the aggression on in Rogue's jungle once more. Heading straight for the turret and then caught Hammy out in position once more. He's going to go straight down, dropped immediately, and Sib's short to follow. That's 2 kills for Hammers. Just the positional advantage, winning them so many fights. They get that choke turret, and T-Tigers, he wants to take Evo down with him. Evo absolutely able to escape all the actions, so will be Hammers disengaging once more. The position of Rogue, it needs work.
It definitely did, and looking at Hammy, he was so far forward. Starting over got so much damage on him. They were trying to. There was a bit of a 1v1 at the very start of that fight. Hammy took so much damage before he even used his weight for it. The Sonic Zoom wasn't enough at the end to save him, and like you said, it comes down to positioning. They were just in the wrong position. They were on the wrong side of the wall. It wasn't a great fight, and although they certainly have the utility to turn these fights around, that wasn't such a good example.
So now, prime time. They're going to look to get the advantage over this middle of the map area. It's just 30 seconds until the Kraken spawns. You can see reflex blocks purchased for starting all over, and Max Green building towards that Crucible and Aegis alike. An opportunity to block that silence if a fight does break out and Hammy is in prime position to hit it. We haven't seen much action from Rogue so far. Haven't quite been able to get themselves into a proper fighting position. Gold miner will be taken away, but 5 seconds left until it does disappear. I'm not sure there's any possibility Hammers secure that.
Definitely not. I kind of want to look at points at Sibs' build. That sounds a bit funny, but his items that he's got, he doesn't have any defense. I think he's just relying mainly on his trampoline there for mobility because it's not great and it's so easy for them to catch it, and he is going out very quickly in the team fights. And I think what Rogue needs right now is just that little bit more defense.
Taking this crack down super quickly. It's gonna go before Rogue even get in position. The Imperial Central, it steals it away. No way that you just did that, Evo. He threw it out, but I thought that was impossible to steal. Now it's going to be Hammers looking to try and take this Kraken down as Rogue gonna get into position to try and stop the Max Green, already falling very low, starting all over as well. But it's T-Tigers taking down the damage onto everyone. Hammy and Sibs forced out the fight. Evo taking up huge damage. Tigers, he wants to go further as starting all over is able to take Sibs down. Prime directive lands straight onto both. Hammy trying to escape, but no way he does. 2 kills goes to Hammers, and this Kraken will go down. Even poor for, no, it will get the turret. There's no way they stop it before the turret drops, but wow, what a mistake from Hammers to allow the Kraken to be stolen.
It was, but actually, it worked out really well for them in the end. That gold leads crept up more, so what we're seeing here is that Rogue, they gain, like, 900 gold, and then we see Hammers, and they're gaining 1500 gold, as well as the kills. And I think part of the issue was, I'm gonna focus a little bit more on the Lyre in that particular team fight, was that we saw Hammy and Evil together, and we did see T-Tigers going after them. I didn't see the bulwark being thrown in once, especially if you've got Lyra going into the alpha. That bulwark is the tool that you need. It's that peel that you need for your carry. I didn't see that being used at all, and frankly, that is why I think Hammy went down so quickly, and I think it was used a little bit earlier. He might have been able to get away.
Even though gold does swing towards Hammers once more, Rogue will be pretty content that they stopped the Kraken from entering their base with that steal. It's probably the best scenario for Rogue in the end. Minion candy purchased up there for Evol. This Crystal Sentry sitting on 1 more life, and so anything to try and stop Hammers from taking it out will be a win. Currently Hammers, they're just playing around the jungle, looking to try and find an advantage once more. Try and push Hammy, Sibs into the wrong place of the map so they can easily catch one of these 2 carries out.
Yes, and right now I feel like Rogue, I feel like the synergy's not quite there for this game. It just feels a little bit off right now, and I think Hammer Esports, I said that Hammer Esports are just doing such a fantastic job. They feel really together, they're really in sync. And I think positioning, the analyst desk to say at the start that we have been seeing kind of inconsistent performances from starting over. I would say this is definitely one of his stronger performances. Using that adagio, he's been staying far back enough, still doing a lot of damage, and he's not really getting touched by Rogue in this game, so.
Only when he dived into the middle of the fight was he dead to the world, and so yeah, no, positionally having a fairly strong game right now, but it's not all over yet. It's going to be Hammers looking to try and take away all of the jungle camps here. Just choke out Rogue. This Crystal Sentry going very low. The Minion Candy not even going to be used. there by Evol. That's it eliminated from the map, so we won't see it again until the next game. This Kraken is looking to respawn very shortly. In fact, I believe it's just respawned, but never mind. A fight. T-Tigers diving forward to the attack of the pack, going in and starting all over, looking to lay down the damage onto Zibs. Hammy turns around. The wait for it goes out, but he gets dropped, and now they're looking to chase down this Hetal as well. Evil to body block. It will just be one casualty, but one is enough for Hammers to turn around and head straight back to that Kraken.
Yeah, Hammy didn't even get a chance in that fight. He went down so fast. He has definitely been the main target there coming out from Hammer and Esports. Every single time they're just focusing on him, he is going down quickly before he's able to get too much damage. And I think the one game where he wasn't focusing too quickly, they were able to pick up the only 2 kills so far for Rogue.
Evil gonna get pushed immediately straight on back. We're not going to see a repeat this time. The Kraken, it does go in favor of Hammers once more. A Metal Janet kit finishes there for starting all over, and the Aegis as well for T-Tigers. And now the last hurrah here for Rogue to hold on to their base. They need to win a fight and stop the Kraken.
It's going to be a tough call for them. What we're seeing right now, Hammer Esports are using that dive comp really well. T-Tigers and Max Green are very aggressive. They're just getting into Rogue's faces every single time. And with that Kraken there, you've got the split priority coming out from Rogue, actually. I think we might be seeing a little bit of the start of this. 2 turrets down. Not too much damage on that Kraken just yet.
Yeah, look at T-Tigers. Straight on in. Hammy takes a huge chunk of damage, and he's going to get chomped on by Max Green. Currently, it's not Rogue trying to turn the fight. Great right bulwark, but there's the burst. It forces them to step away. T-Tigers, the Termination Protocol lands, but it's only weapon power, and it doesn't do enough. That's going to be Sibs dropping as he trampolines away. Hammy, they're next to follow, and Max Green will be traded. But the Kraken, it's already taken one of these Vein Crystal turrets. The second is sure to follow as T-Tigers starting all over. Will be hammering it on down. Just the Kraken and the Vein Crystal. Evol doing his best, but this Lyra, she just can't quite hold off. And starting all over, gonna lay down the hurt. But T-Tigers, he's taken the base, and that will be the first game. Head on over to Hammers Esports.
What a game that was. An extremely dominant game there coming up from Hammers Esports. They look very put together as a team, and I think one of their stronger performances so far in the past 2 weeks. And I think just that Fortress worked really well. T-Tigers on the Alpha. The dive was so strong. I just feel like Rogue didn't have the defense to really do too much against it in the trade-offs and the fights. Nothing much was happening coming out from Rogue.
They just weren't able to get into the fight, unfortunately. And I have to question the pedal pick. I don't think it was super strong. Obviously, we've seen great win rates on the Vox, but Petal is one of those curious heroes that, you know, if you don't get ahead early on the Petal, then you just don't quite do enough damage. However, I would like to hear Tasty Bacon's thoughts as we throw it back over to the analyst's desk a little bit later on this Fortress pick. It seems like it's doing very well. We'll have to find out. Over to you, AJ.
Thank you very much, guys. Very impressive game 1 from Hammers, especially given what we talked about beforehand. I think it's interesting how successful they were with a draft that ended up being a lot like the one that you were talking to me about, Humanist.
So much success, and who would have guessed it, Bacon? Honestly, I didn't predict them to win. I think there is that consistency factor, you know, that it's so hard to take into account. But it looks like Hammers are here to play today. And with that, yeah, I got to take it back, but that draft was just run at you.
Yeah, and I also want to touch on the fact that with the substitute in Max Green in for Chicken, you know, there's a lot of times you think, oh, it's a substitute, so it's going to be a downgrade in player. Sometimes it's just a change in mentality or a change in play style, and Max Green looked a lot more aggressive than Chicken did last week.
Absolutely, and speaking of aggression, guys, this replay we've got for you right from the beginning of the game, you could see that Hammers were really turning up the heat.
Yeah, they set the tone early. This was level 1, not even a minute into this game. Max Green, first one to jump in, gets the kill right away, and the team just continues to chase.
I think something that Rogue might have underestimated is the Dragon Blood contract here early. It played a large impact, allowed them to go ahead and chase.
Yeah, the other thing that I really didn't like here was Evol. You can see moving up towards the middle of the lane there. That's getting to like that dead zone between the 2 turrets. There's a little like triangle of area where neither of those 2 turrets will target you, and he moved right into that dead zone, which allowed Hammers to then chase him down without taking any turret aggro. So a little bit of a positional error right off the bat. Not a great way to start the game.
I've got to agree. So moving into game 2, I do think one point I want to bring up for sure is that Sibs on the pedal had some real moments, and I think maybe had that level 1 fight not been so disastrous, this draft could have worked better for them.
Sibs is one consistent moment to me. Every time he's in there playing, love Sibs. No, but yeah, he did really well. I think it was very clear. Alpha just wanted to get into the back lines, and Sibs was kind of setting up in some of those fights next to their Crystal Sentry where he'd get those seeds down, he'd kind of poke and then retreat back into them, and during that fight, it went very well for him.
Yeah, there was that one fight around like 12 minutes. I noted it just in case Rogue won. That was going to be our other replay because really it was like a minefield. No one could get through the choke point. Really strong stuff. I do think that Pedal perhaps again, if the fight didn't happen early on, could have done more. And maybe in game 2, if Hammers try to play a similar strategy, I wouldn't be that against Sibs picking it up and giving it one more try.
I feel like if Hammers play like that, they could get first place in the whole week.
You think that they could go up against the likes of our top teams from last week, like TSM and Techstars?
If they draft as well as they did, if they played as well as they did, I think they could. Not to say that they would for sure.
So I'm hearing that if Hammers plays up to their abilities, they're a top 3 team in North America. That sounds super familiar.
I never disagreed with that.
Well, Hammers, they're getting through this draft pretty quick along with Rogue here. We've got the Ringo and Adagio banned away. Rogue take the Lyra. And Hammers decides to go for the Vox here. They got a ban coming up.
And again, Vox didn't pick up the win last game. So that's going to bring that win rate down a little bit from the 70% that we had seen up until now. But Hammer's looking to drive it right back up.
Starting loves his Vox. He really does.
Yeah, I think the only hero he plays more frequently than Vox is that Ringo.
Well, he's got one thing he's comfortable on, but now the rest of the team needs to really be fleshed out, and Hammers does have the opportunity for a second pick here. A lot of the aggressive junglers have been taken off the table. You're up against a Lyra. What direction are you guys looking?
Honestly, they did pretty well with the Fortress into the Lyra.
I was going to say that.
I really like it. My whole idea of getting this team online is having them run at teams, and Fortress does that so well, and it appeared like that playstyle worked very, very well for them.
I mean, I don't see anything really gating them from picking Fortress again, unless there's another pick they need to be worried about.
Lance is on the table. He can negate some of those things you're looking to do as you run out of target, peeling, impaling, but there we go.
Yep, Fortress coming out. I completely agree with your sentiments. I feel like Fortress just plays so well into the strengths of Hammers Esports. They need to be aggressive. They need to be the ones trying to take the fight, and Fortress 100% enables that.
I tell you one thing which maybe in the long run scares me a little bit,
Jackson.
Is if we have this solid understanding of Hammers and what they need to do to win, nothing's stopping other teams from picking up that information from watching this week's games and being able to maybe come up with ways of dealing with that.
I mean, other teams, just from the preseason events that were happening, other teams should know this about Hammers Esports already. Like, this was something that you could have picked up on so easily because it's even knowing it, it's still tough to deal with because they're so good at being hyper aggressive.
They needed to pick up on it themselves, though, because they weren't always committing to those types of team compositions. It seems like they've kind of figured out what they needed to do here, though. Rogue, they've got 2 picks now to answer the Vox Fortress. Obviously, Fortress did very well with them last game, starting very good on the Vox. So how are they going to try and deal with it? Wow. Quick lock-ins on Gwen and Samuel.
A little surprised. I definitely would have liked to have seen a Lance come out from somewhere in this draft for the side of Rogue. Even putting Lance as the captain and have Lyra in the lane, I think would have worked out really well for them. But, hey, you want aggression? There's a little bit of Koshka action for you.
I mean, you are picking Koshka into Skedaddle, but that being said, I still like this from Hammers a lot.
Yeah, but if they play this well, they could have 4 kills before she can hit that yummy kind of frenzy, like before she even hits level 6.
I mean, they did last game.
That's true. That's true.
And not to mention, it's T-Tigers on Koshka. This is a pick, because he hasn't always been a laner. He has played in the jungle previously, and when he was a jungler, like very early in his career, he was known for Koshka.
And, well, I mean, that was the Fortress Koshka days. Everyone was known for Koshka
Well,
back then.
Fortress Koshka.
He's
Koshka.
also been playing it as of recent. There's a few players that have been picking it up. I thought earlier there were a couple drafts that could have plugged a Koshka in and done very well when we're talking about like getting into the backlines, burst damage, early game pressure through the jungle. I think it shores up a lot of weaknesses for their team. And once again, this is just run at you.
One concern I have, one big difference between this game and the last one is that with Alpha, okay, let's say you like mess up once and a Bright Bulwark blocks one of your jumps. All right, you're going to have another one in a second, and the one that you originally missed 5 seconds from now. But on Koshka, you've got to land the Yummy and Frenzy, and if maybe the Bright Bulwark is held appropriately, that could be a lot more difficult.
It could be. We'll have to. I mean, but that's what it comes down to. And if you look at the cooldown, she can jump twice in the time that it takes Bright Bulwark to come back up. So, yeah, I mean, he'll have to be on point with those bulwarks. But
the other thing
get
is
around it.
that can also bait out the bulwark. You know, there's so many times if you just think that Koshka's about to jump in on you, the bulwark might get thrown down. We've seen Koshka so many times just look to go super aggressive and then pull back immediately just to bait out crucibles, bait out reflex blocks, and things like that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're ready for game number 2 of the series. Our Hammer's going to close this out. How's the Koshka going to do? Let's find out with Dalsy and Jingyi.
I love Tiger's Koshka. He played it last week against Gangstars, and it was the pick that secured Hammers the win. So we'll have to see how it goes this time. Max Green, he has picked up another Dragon Blood contract, as long as that Ironside contract. So Ironside? Iron Guard. Whoops. And so we'll have to see how they play it. This time it looks like Hammer will be playing a little bit more passively in the early game, though.
I love it. I love this Koshka Fortress
Oh,
combination.
maybe not. Hammy.
Oh,
So much
they're
damage.
going ham.
Wow. Yeah, going ham onto Hammy. He's traded straight back onto starting all over. Evol can throw it back just as much.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as I was going to say, I love this Koshka Fortress combination. I think it's so aggressive. I really want to be seeing this aggression coming out from T-Tigers. We saw it last week, and hopefully we'll be seeing it again. Max Green and starting over, definitely being very aggressive in the lane. They're taking an aggressive posturing there in that bush, keeping Evil and Hammy back. I'm a little bit wary. I think they're looking for blood here.
Dibs has made his way over this level 2 power spike for the Samuel, and look at the Malice and Verdicts go, starting all over. Has to burn a potion to heal through that one there. T-Tigers, he's waiting. He's just waiting for Evo and Sibs to come.
Cheeky.
Going
Cheeky.
as a unit. Just going to hold on just now. Charges up his Blood Rush passive, looking to try and get on in onto Hammy. Gonna jump on over. There it is. Max Green joins in as well. A lot of damage onto Hammy. Will be the first blood though. No! It goes the other way! It's Hammy who
Greedy.
secures first blood. Unlucky for Hammers.
So greedy. I think especially with Lyra there, you need to put a burst down fast enough before that heal really kicks in. And that's exactly what happened. So unfortunate. I think T-Tigers, oh, so close to picking up that kill there. Really, really painful moment there. But we're seeing a lot of aggression in the jungle. Personally, what I want to be seeing is a little bit more aggression in... Sorry, we're seeing a lot of aggression in the lane. What I want to be seeing is more aggression in the jungle. That Koshka Fortress combination would be a really tough one for Sibs and Evil to deal with, especially because we are seeing Sibs solo jungling a lot.
Yeah, did have to try and secure that Elder Treant up against Max Green. You see this pair though, the Koshka and Max Green, both pairing up, looking to just dive onto people's faces. What's faster than a Koshka? It's a Koshka with Fortress next to him to try and help speed this kitty cat even further into the action.
Yes, and right now, starting over, I think he's going to be based in. He's going to get away from this. Right now, I think we keep seeing T-Tigers and Max Green looking for blood here, actually. No, it's okay. We keep seeing them looking for blood in the jungle. They're trying to pick up those treants, and they're just never really catching anything there. I think this might be the first time that T-Tigers actually see something in the jungle, but he's going to get it. He's going to get that.
Yeah, takes the treant, but will he get out with his life is the real question. In fact, he's just going to be left to his own devices as Sibs makes his way over to the jungle of Hammers. But look at what's happening, starting all over. Max Green, they're pairing up to make sure that this jungle gets taken for their team, and now they're going to try and get onto Sibs. Here comes Tigers as well, straight onto Sibs, but Max Green, he's almost dead. He's not going to find that Matters of Verdict. That's going to be the first kill going T-Tiger's way, but Hammers have to split up, run away. Hammy going to take down, starting all over
Max
with
Green.
that auto attack, and that's Max Green falling as well to Lyra. Everyone getting in on the action. Jungler takes down Jungler, Carry takes down Carry, Captain takes down Captain.
Yeah, at least T-Tigers was able to steal a tree and they're away from that. I think that's what's really good about Koshka in the early game. Her clear speed is just so strong, but Sibs, with that poke there, he's just able to force her back every single time. And actually, let's going back to lane here. They took a lot of damage there onto that turret.
Down to just over HP, 150 HP, so nope, 50%. So it's still fairly healthy, not in great risk yet, but a bit of early damage not going to go unnoticed. Now, T-Tiger's still trying to lay down the damage onto Sibs here, throwing out the poke, but the Sigil's just going to heal everyone back up. Hammers, they haven't had the early start they wanted. Right now, it is currently in favor of Rogue. We'll have to see what they're able to do with the early gold lead they've accumulated.
Yeah, they really haven't been able to push the advantage that I think they were, and actually all of us were hoping for. And I think part of the issues there is that if you look at Rogue's composition, it's very, very poke heavy, and especially with that Lyra, they're using the bulwark. It's so easy for her to block out the abilities coming out from Koshka and the Fortress. Even though we've not been seeing too much of it, I feel like in any of the aggression that Hammers is just trying to start, it's just being countered really well by Rogue. And if they can keep this going to the late game, it's going to make it very difficult. Oh, yeah,
T-Tigers putting the aggression down in the jungle. But he is getting countered immediately by Rogue as they chase him and Max Green back into their own jungle. Now starting all over, it's going to have to walk out of this. Does lay down the resonance, but not going to look for anything else. Yeah, and I like it, Rogue playing as a unit, trying to make sure that this Koshka isn't able to just run away with early aggression.
Yeah, they're not. But I think now that we see T-Tigers is level 6, starting all over, about halfway there to level 6, I think once they get that, a major priority for Rogue should be getting the blocks. Not only for the Yummy Cat and Friends, but also for the wait for it. And if they are able to block that, that's a great turnaround. They're potentially just waiting for Hammer Esports. We saw in the last game where the Vox was able to get a great wait for it down and it completely just changed the fight. And if they can do that this time, just chain it along with the attack with back, I think it's all about the ultimates here for Hammer Esports. Then that is just such a great start for them. Oh!
There it is, Yummy Catnip. It's blocked up. T-Tiger's not going to land any more damage onto Evo. And the Oblivion goes out, but not connecting with anything just yet. That Treant that everyone was fighting over does go over to his Sibs in the end, so he's going to be recharging his energy bar. But a missed engage, unfortunately, for Hammers. As you say, these ultimates going to be their key point. Max Green, not quite there just yet, but neither is Evo on this Lyra. The captain's a little bit far behind. They do get less experience. We're going to have to wait on that Yummy Cat Frenzy to come back up for T-Tigers.
Yeah, there's only a 45-second wait there. Max Green, not so close to reaching that level 6, and then everyone on the side of Hammer Esports will have that ultimate available. I think one thing I do want to note is that they've made, what we're seeing is that Rogue have managed to get a lot more damage on the turret since then. And it's actually probably about a quarter health right now, so they do need to be careful about how long they're staying up in lane for, making sure they're not leaving alone. And with all 3 members of Rogue up in the lane, it's something that they really need to be careful of.
Yep, so Rogue putting the pressure on. Starting all over is going to take a bit of damage here as they start chucking out the Malice and Verdicts. There's that slow coming through from Hammy, and Max Green forced right on back. This turret's taking a huge damage. T-Tiger's going to try and jump in and turn it all around. Hammy goes extremely low. That will force Rogue to fall back just for now. Evo will have the sigils to heal this Gwen back up. Perhaps Rogue stick around, try and take down this turret. It is standing on a hair's
I
whim.
don't know. I don't know about this, because we just saw starting over and Max Green teleport away, and all 3 members of Rogue are still up in the lane. This could be their chance to spread that turret down. T-Tigers is going to get up in time.
He goes straight on in. Ace's high connects, and he just gets stunned up. T-Tigers not respecting that ultimate from Gwen. Perhaps figured she was too low to use it as far as the energy was concerned, but that was not the case. A very massive error. The turret goes as well. This
is not the start that Hammer Esports are looking. If you look at the compositions, just on paper, Hammer Esports should have been very dominant. They should have been the one to pick up the early turret, get the gold objectives. Actually, what we're seeing is it's the other way around. And I think they just need to be a little bit more careful with how they're picking their fights. And I think for Hammer Esports, they will do so well in the jungle with the attack of the pack. There's just so much place for them to play about, and whereas it's not as easy for Rogue there to fight in the jungle. It's a much better place for them to fight in the lane, where it's a little bit more restricted for them.
Very interesting game so far. The complete swing of map aggression. You're going to see a crystal infuse purchased by T-Tigers, and that burst monocles there as well for starting all over now, hitting that 2-item point. Going to be Hammer looking to see if they can't find some aggression here, but Rogue, they're just matching it in the lane. Everyone coming on through, throwing out those malice and verdicts to try and land some extra poke onto Hammer. And currently, Hammer's just not finding any in. Every time they look for a fight, Rogue, they're there, ready, and waiting.
They just back away. Lara just kills everyone up, so it just sends out a drifting dark, and what we're seeing is Hammer Esports are forced to back away every single time. It's very efficient. It's a lot different from the last game that we just saw between these two teams. It's definitely flipped on its head, and it's really refreshing to see.
Very much so. Rogue, they're going to head on over to the shop. It's going to be a crystal infused, weapon infused purchased up for Hammy, a level 7-1 here. Does mean that Rogue are possibly going to look for a fight as they start up this gold miner. Hammers are in position to look to try and come over and contest it. T-Tigers there. Right forward, stop him jumping in, but it does get stolen nonetheless with the wait for it. Now the aggression's going back onto T-Tigers as he's trying to run away, but he will not have a safe journey home. That's going to be a kill going over to Sibs. They are able to steal that gold miner.
I actually think overall it's probably worth it in the end, and we're just seeing that gold lead just narrow that little bit more.
As long as they don't lose a turret, I would say it's 100% worth it.
I think what we need to be seeing is that Koshka's being burst in really quickly, and I think just building a little bit more shield would do. We just are just upgrading to a kinetic shield there, and I think once she gets the Aegis, a lot better position to be jumping straight in, because Sibs and Hammy, just the two of them together, is just forcing her back, and she's not able to join in the fights once she dives in.
Yeah, well, at the moment, that's definitely necessary. Every time she dives in, Evo whacks on that right bulwark to prevent any more aggression. Sibs throws down the drifting dark and the malice and verdicts, and it just hurts. Hammy, of course, buckshots and the boomstick passive as well. It provides a lot of damage. They have the Aces High for the disable and the Oblivion as well, preventing a lot of aggression here from Hammers. Possibly could have been necessary in the previous game when they had this Fortress combo just diving on in the faces. Seems like they found a good counter. It's a very similar idea, just not working this time for Hammers.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that I think we pointed out fairly early on in the game that reflex blocks or Aegises should be a major priority. Right now, if you look at the side of if you look at the side of Rogue, the only blocks that they have is in the form of that Crucible and Evil. They can plural block either the Omnicantic Frenzy or the Wait for It, but they certainly cannot block both. And I think if Hammer Esports recognize that and just use all the ultimates that they can, like we said before, then maybe we'll be seeing different outcomes in the fights. But right now, we're not seeing that.
We're not. Currently, Rogue are in the prime position to continue scaling up this game. Like, gold is only 1,500 between these two teams, Rogue in the lead with that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the driver's seat right now. Yes, they're holding on. They're kind of dictating the fights that Hammers are trying to put out. But at any point, this could all just get flipped on its head if T-Tigers can get a good engage on. There's the Wait for It coming out. Will they go for it? It's currently starting all over, taking huge chunks of damage. His team not able to protect him. Fountain available for Max Green if he wants to heal starting all over up. Starting all over is going to be forced away from this recall here. Which is going to allow Rogue a bit of peace of mind that they can rotate back down to this gold mine and even start it up.
Part of the issue is that starting over just took a lot of damage, and normally when you're playing against a heavy poke composition such as the Rogues, you want your captain to be the body block. But with a Fortress, great for aggressive engagements, but in terms of body blocking, not as good as say like a Finn or a Lance. And I think that's going to be here in the issue for them against Rogue.
Yes, definitely. The inability to block up the damage. That's where we need to see that shielding that you mentioned earlier coming out for T-Tigers, so he can eat up a couple of shots. He's very close to hitting a point where the Aegis comes through, but he is purchasing that piercing shard, looking for a bit more, pierce onto the shielding as such. Evo positioning aggressively, but Sips is nowhere near the team, so right now Rogue are just clearing out this wave. They got that gold miner with a decent gold payout. I don't expect we'll see another one cleared as the Kraken spawns in just a minute's time. Both these teams are playing for late game, and Gwen versus Vox. Let's say it goes Vox's way, but over on the side, this Samuel's still here. He's going to be putting out consistent damage, and it's not like T-Tigers on his infamous Koshka has really had an impact.
Yeah, and we all know that Koshka does fall down in the late game. So on one side, you do have starting all over scaling up, and then you also have T-Tigers falling off. It's a delicate balance. I'm not sure if they're managing to find it quite yet. And I agree with you. I think Vox, compared to Gwen, Vox will probably be doing a little bit better. But you also have to consider that Samuel, he's doing so much damage right now. Just look at how they're able to force him back every single time. Oh, they're going in.
They're going in. Hammers wants this, starting all over on the front line. The Oblivion goes out, but they're all able to dodge away from it. Look at starting all over, still on the front line, looking for the fight, and T-Tiger's going to put that down, but it gets blocked out. Hammers going to start doing their way. Oh no, it's going to be just everyone melted as the Malice and Verdicts. The Drifting Dark was too much for Hammers to deal with. The ace comes through, the Kraken spawns up. Rogue will get everything.
And everything they got. Wow, that did not come out right. But yeah, they absolutely turned that around. It was a great engagement. We saw them doing a lot of damage. I think the issue is in that team fight, especially for Hammer Esports, was that they weren't able to just catch up to Sivs or Hammy. The Drifting Dark came out. Frostburn certainly did a lot, and because they were able to escape, they were just sitting in that Drifting Dark taking so much damage, and Rogue just completely turned that around there.
Yeah, no, it was the extended engage that Samuel just loves to be a part of, stacking up those broken mist stacks with the Malice and Verdicts over and over again. Now, the Kraken unleashed, and things looking very tough for Hammers. That tier 2 turret, it's sitting on just under half HP, not long for this world. They're going to need a miracle engage here, try and take Rogue down early, or this Kraken will do so much work. Here it comes, that turret not even going to be contested by Hammer. They're just going to walk away and now fight for this choke point. Starting all over on the front line, does take a huge chunk of damage. T-Tigers trying to charge up, getting ready to dive on into the fight, but every time he does, he gets blocked out, and this Kraken, it's still so healthy, but the choke turret, it's not. That's going to be the second going over. There's the trigger pulled. Oblivion goes out. It's blocked away. Starting all over. He gets stunned up by the Aces High. Not able to get into position, but there it is. The great ultimate comes through. Silence on up, but they've blown up already. This Max Green.
Oh, no.
Now T-Tigers dives in, but starting all over's not with him. That's just going to be Tigers taken on down as well. Starting has to recall. He has to deal with this Kraken. That's going to be one Vein Crystal turret falling. 3 turrets and a double kill for this Rogue lineup. Hammers are starting to fall apart.
Oh, that was slightly painful. So, I'm not sure I'd necessarily agree with T-Tigers and Max Green going straight after them, because there was definitely a miscommunication there. Starting all over, Rose was a little bit slow on joining the rest of his teammates, and actually I think they should have just stayed on the Kraken. It was such a risky move, and almost was the end of it there for Hammer Esports. It was not a good idea. They were just losing so much health that whole chase. And again, it's going to come down to that blocks. We're seeing Rogue picking up a lot of the blocks now. So Hammy's got his own block, as well as the Skedaddle, Evo, the Crucible. Actually, Sibs is probably still the weakest one in terms of defense there. But yet they're not focusing on him. They're going for Gwen every single time. And actually, I'm going to start arguing that they need to be taking out Sibs every single time.
Yep, it's a hard one. Stuck up between a rock and a hard place. The rock being Sibs, and the hard place obviously Hammy. It almost, even if you were able to blow up Sibs, Hammy would still be there to lay down the consistent damage. So it's no great scenario for Hammer. They just need to get the great engage, the miracle engage with the wait for it, and that yummy Captain Frenzy. Lock someone down, blow them up. Max Green needs to be able to get the team in there and start laying down the damage, but it's almost like the clock is ticking against them. 18 minutes, and this Gwen almost fully scaled on up, as is this Samuel as well. Aegis finally completed for starting all over, but I'm not sure it's enough to keep him in the fight.
I don't think it is, and we're seeing this Koshka scrabbling to stay in, and it's not looking great. So we're seeing Max Green. He's picked up the Shiver Steel, which will really be. Oh no no no!
Starting
no,
all
no.
over in a very awkward position here. There goes the buckshot, but they're going to try and turn the aggression straight on through. Zips is taking huge chunks of damage. They're just turning the fight as we speak. Straight onto Hammers. Zips finally down. This is a great start, and that's Hammy going to be locked under as well. They managed to find the combination. Zips down first, Hammy second, and the ace on Evo.
Yes!
What was that from Hammer?
A great fight. They got the silence. It wasn't blocked. I think there was a bit of a rocky moment where they did get caught out by the Oblivion there, but they just kept chasing past it. The tower dive was risky. The Crucibles and the Fountains came out from Max Green at exactly the right times, and that's what they needed. They are going to be ahead. They are now ahead in gold after that very successful ace, and that's exactly what they need to be doing. They just need to be going very ham against Rogue, making sure they're chasing up all the kills this time, fully committing to all the team fights.
Yeah, no, it's incredible turnaround. The Kraken now theirs at this 20-ish minute mark, and they can look to start chasing on down into the base of Rogue. The infusement's going to come through for everyone here. T-Tigers, he's almost ran out. A little bit poor timing, perhaps could have upgraded, but he was out of gold, so not going to happen just yet. Now for Hammer, a very great opportunity to try and put this game back into their favor, put Rogue on the back foot, but it's all going to rely on their team fighting ability as they look to try and take this turret down. Diving forward onto Hammy, turret is destroyed, but Max Green already taking a huge beating already. This Kraken still in play. Kraken very healthy at this stage. Aces High though lands straight onto T-Tigers, and look at the damage already onto Max Green. Oblivion will not catch this Fortress out, but he's separated from his team. There's no way he escapes. He's dipping, he's diving, he's trying his best, and in fact he's got the speed as well. The Cuppy, definitely someone who you can't sleep on. Starting all over, wants to push the turret, but his team says no. We got two already. The choke point will fall. That's going to be a fairly successful Kraken there for Hammer.
A very successful Kraken indeed. It was also looking a bit risky there for Max Green, who managed to make it out. And I think just going back to their earlier points, Max Green, as that Fortress, is just not able to body block. I think he took a few hits there from Hammy and Sibs, and he had to take just to step aside, starting all over in T-Tigers. They just had to back away, because when you're... The point of this composition is that they have to be aggressive. Hammer Esports absolutely cannot be on the defensive. They have to just go full all in, and still good to see that Max Green has finally picked up the War Trice. He's got the Shiver Steel now. This is everything that they need to choose a target and just focus them down.
Absolutely do. This game though is now practically even between these two teams. Rogue have shown that they were in the driver's seat for almost the entirety of the game. The Hammer Esports not able to get in on the action, but finally a great team fight comes out. Now we have to see if they can replicate it here, because I still favor Rogue's ability to fight if Hammer is not able to do the same as what they did. Going to group up here on the tri-bush. Some verdicts are being thrown out, but starting all over is going to head on over to the wave here, start pushing it in and force Rogue to deal with the minions that are going to crash into their base.
One thing we have to note is that Max Green, his infusion is about to run out. He's not the carry, so it's not the worst case scenario. But
Right,
oh no, where are they? Are they going in? Are they going out? It's kind of difficult to see what Hammer Esports are
Rogue
thinking
want to
about.
do
Right now.
here. Rogue right behind Hammer. It's going to force the fight. They could just dive straight on in, but in this position, Hammer could just look for the fight, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're trying to turn back onto Rogue. That is going to get blocked up. The Yummy Catnip Frenzy not going to come through. Starting all over, able to block the aces high, but Hammy has been bursted on down. Just leaves Sibs to do the work. The Oblivion puts them to sleep. Now he's trying to trade on back. He's got T-Tigers, but can he find any more here? Max Green on the front line, trying to dip and dive. Going to start up the Kraken, but here's Evo diving forward with that Arcane Passage, and that's going to be Max Green left to dead. Nothing starting all over can do. He will fall back. Rogue are going to find a 2-for-1 trade.
Yes, they are, and I think this could actually be the end of the game for Hammer
They're starting
Esports
up
there.
the Kraken.
I don't know. I think starting all over could challenge this, especially if he does. I don't know if he'll be able to succeed, because if he misses, then that's game over there for Hammer Esports.
They take it too slowly. Samuel just doesn't have the sustained damage or enough burst damage to take it. So they will disengage. And that is the Kraken going to stay alive for now. 6 seconds on T-Tigers, and there's almost no way that the Kraken gets started up before Max Green joins the Halcyon fold once more. But that's exactly the reason that Rogue have been in the driver's seat this entire game, Xinyi. They're just more consistent in their team fights.
They are. The one thing that I am noticing is that every time that the starting over uses wait for it, it's actually not being blocked. The crystal's being blocked for the Yummy Cat and Frenzy, and I think it'd be better to block the wait for it, give them a chance to disengage from the fight, and let them use their individual blocks. I mean, Sib still actually doesn't have his own reflex block. He's got the Metal Jacket, he's got the Kinetic Shield, but no reflex block, which is a bit worrying. But we're not seeing him being focused as a target of the Yummy Cat and Frenzy because it's being blocked every single time.
And it's great Crucibles coming out of Evolve. This Kraken has been started up. Starting all over is going to head onto the lane to start pushing on in, put some pressure onto Rogue. Rogue, they're doing it slowly. They're trying to bait Hammer into a fight here. They don't actually want to get this Kraken to a position where it can be stolen away. But look at what Hammer are doing. I love this move. They just go straight for the lane and start putting pressure on Rogue to start defending the minions that will be crashing into their turret. Rogue up close, starting all over, going to lay down the wait for it. It does silence up, and that's Hammy locked on in. It's Sibs, in fact, and Sibs will be going down, dropped on out. Hammy trying to run away, but there's nothing this Gwen can do. Once more, they find the secret combination, and an ace will come through for Hammer Esports now with the aced up minions coming on through. The Sentry defeated as well. Hammer can just march straight on into the base here of Rogue and look to take this series 2-0.
Oh, that fight was all about, well, the lack of blocks being used. The Wait for it wasn't blocked, the Yummy Cat and Frenzy wasn't blocked, and it was just a fantastic position there for Hammer Esports just to pick up the kills. If you look at the mobility, that is really where the mobility just comes through, because you are able to dodge all the pokes coming through on Rogue, and they did that very well in that team fight, and that is them taking the second game.
Certainly is. The second game, it goes Hammer's way. They will be progressing to tomorrow's games. Unfortunately for Rogue, not able to find success today, despite the fact they seem to be onto a winning combination. But as soon as Hammer figured out, and you said this, Xingyi, that you wanted to see it from Hammer Esports, to take down Sibs first and then follow it up with Hammy, every time they did that, they were able to secure themselves a win in the team fights.
They definitely did that every single time. So I'm really it's interesting because they are playing quite an early game composition with that Koshika and Fortress, and we didn't see that happening at the start, but they were able to sustain through. It's a bit worrying because if you look at the items, Rogue have so much sustain with the Lyre there, and also the Eve of Harvest coming out from the Samuel. It's just really clever team fights at the end that just allowed Hammer Esports just to pick up the final kill.
Well, as said, 2-0 for them. Now they progress to tomorrow's games. It's over to the analysts on the desk to break down that series before we head into the final one of tonight.
Thank you very much, guys. Wow. That game was very back and forth. We've had a lot of kind of longer games on North America side, at least today. You can see competition quite fierce, but Hammers are going to be the ones to take home the win at the end of the series. I'm honestly, like, starting to become more and more of a believer.
Starting a little bit quicker than me on the draw there.
But I won't be totally sold for another couple of games, at the very least.
Oh, one of those deals. Been there. I get it.
I mean, you gotta have that consistency, and yeah, this was a great step in the right direction, but gotta keep going.
It is. I don't know. I think for good reason people have mixed emotions on starting, because let's be real. Starting, I'll look right at the camera and tell you, dude, you got an ego, man. And it's for good reason. He's incredibly talented. But you can't just show up and just think talent's going to carry you through to the top. But with that said, with criticizing that, I do think that they have the caliber of players that could be top 5 worlds, like, if they come together playing the proper kind of Vainglory.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them develop a little bit more. We've actually got a couple of back-to-back replays here for you, because Bacon just
fancy.
One wasn't enough for you, was it?
I mean, well, this was a tale of 2 team fights, and this is exactly how the different team fights went. This first one, you can see Rogue ends up winning it. Once it starts, Sibs gets his Drifting Dark out. This starts on the right side of the Kraken pit there and goes all the way across the map. He's in the Drifting Dark the entire time, putting out damage, staying alive. And that was the key to Rogue's victories. And then you look at this next team fight here, and you can see they take down Sibs. He gets locked up initially, doesn't really get the Drifting Dark out very quickly, and is just blown up before they can really make use of it.
This game, like in my opinion, it was Sibs, like keeping Rogue in the game constantly. Like I can't count that high. How many times Sibs had the perfect Drifting Dark, and how many games have we watched where we've just been begging Samuels, like, can you not read a fight? Do you know where to throw a Drifting Dark to make it work?
I was about to make the exact same point. Like,
it was so good.
And again, like there were so many, like you said, so many times where his Drifting Darks were absolutely perfect, and then you have a fight like that where it comes out just a little bit too late, and
Just a touch.
it's just a touch, just that little bit. And that last fight at the end, it was the same thing. The Drifting Dark just couldn't come out quite on time, and when that happened, that was when Rogue lost. And it's not like saying it's, oh, this is Sibs' fault that they lost.
No.
Like, the rest of the members still have to step up.
He literally had to play perfect.
Yeah.
He was. I would say he was playing perfect to keep him in that game.
you know what I find very interesting as well is like Hammers, they used a very appropriate level of brute force in this game. Like they just grouped up and moved forward. And like that obviously in certain circumstances was really bad against the Samuel, but they didn't have a way around the corner. I mean, Lyra stops them from positioning, so why bother? You know, they're just like a front line and then a Vox, and that's it.
Yeah, and you can improve on that. Like, you can improve on the baiting out Bright Bulwarks or, you know, baiting out a Drifting Dark, re-engaging, but it's hard to teach someone to just see, to smell the blood, and just go.
Yeah, and for me, like, we kind of talked about before, teams are going to realize that the strength of Hammers Esports is to just be super aggressive and start to counter it. Rogue was doing that. But to the point that we made earlier is that even if you know how they want to win and you know how they're going to play, you have to be completely perfect in order to beat them still when they are on the top of their game. And that's what we saw there. While Rogue was perfect, they were able to win those fights. But one slight misstep, one slight delay on activating an ability, and Hammers are able to just run over your team.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to do a giveaway real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Type the name of the winning team in lowercase letters and all one word into the Twitch chat for your chance to win an Epic Key. When we're back from our break, we have another excellent game coming up. It's going to be Team Solo Mid against Cloud9. You do not want to miss this one. We'll be right back. Back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory 8. My name's Action Jackson, here with Humanist and Tasty Bacon, and we've got an absolutely awesome matchup for you guys coming up. It's going to be Team Solo Mid versus Cloud9. Now, if you wanted to catch Misfits versus Gangstars, that match is going to be happening off stream, but the VODs will be available pretty much right after the games are played. Exceptions on the ball today. So, let's just get straight into this one. Let's have a look at the rosters for Team Solo Mid. First things first, Flash X, Best Chuck NA, Von C with subs, Starboy and Bladeheart 92.
I mean, all I see is the subs there. Starboy and Bladeheart. I mean, that is talent. No, I mean, I love those guys. But Flash, Best Chuck, Von C, unbelievable what they've been able to accomplish. I think they look so good in day one and 2 of week 1.
Yeah, the pillar of consistency in all of Vainglory,
Well said.
not just North America.
The inverse of Hammers, perhaps, the matchup that we just had. Let's look at their opponents now, though. Cloud9, Gabe Vizzle, Old School, I Love Joseph, and Azure and I.
And this was the team probably had the most hype coming into this season. You know, a superstar lineup. Didn't quite get the job done last week. They, fell just a little bit short against, I believe, Team Solo Mid. So looking for a little bit of revenge immediately here in week number 2.
And, it would be sweet revenge because they fell to Team Solo Mid in the semifinals last week. If they were to beat them in round 1, the difference in points could actually be pretty substantial moving forwards into the next couple of weeks here.
I think they would like that. A nice substantial difference in points there. And if there is one team out there that's going to be taking TSM down in the first few weeks, I think it's Cloud9. But, I mean, they got to pull it all together. This is really tough. Because on the flip side of the coin, I do think that TSM's pretty neck and neck as far as talent goes. And they also have incredible leadership.
Yeah, I mean, TSM came into this season. We talked to them a little bit before the season started. And, Flash X, what did he tell you? It was they just completely refocused once they got back in the team house. They have been driven and motivated as a result of getting back together, and just unbelievable performance out of them in week number 1.
Truly.
Yeah, I was really excited to see what they brought last week because it was just very crisp performance. Team Solo Mid, if you look at the online season that we had at the end of 2016, definitely had some shaky weeks. They were trying a lot of very fringe experimental stuff and some stuff that made perfect sense like Weapon Lyra. But it wasn't always working out for them. This season, they seem to be really putting their best foot forward.
By not playing Weapon Lyra.
Right through the Arcane Passage, right? Like, bam.
It was the Weapon Samuel that was tilting me.
That tilted me. Von C was doing it intentionally by the end of the season, too. He
like
was literally,
son, like mother?
When he knew that I was playing in a game, or that I was casting one of his games, he would just start taunting me in the lobby before the draft even happened, just saying like different things he was going to pick.
That's all right. I mean, second place at Worlds, right? So I guess they thought they were good enough to show up and play games, but they weren't really. I'll fire shots at you all day long. That's what happened. I mean, Weapon Pedal, Weapon Samuel. I do think that they learn from it. They're smart guys. I don't think Flash will allow that kind of thing to happen moving forward. I would be really surprised. So, whatever. It happens. You learn from it. You move on. But even with that, even with not 100% full sweat every single day of the weeks leading up to it, they still came in second.
Yeah, and really that's what I think the takeaway needs to be. Also, ultimately, it's the results that matter, and second in the world is a fantastic accomplishment.
It's pretty good. But if you are the kind of guy that Flash is, second is not good enough.
That's a very good point, too. I mean, I think that's totally fair. This year and in the competitive structure that we have now, there is a noticeable difference, though, right? Like, every point matters over the course of both splits in the season. I don't think they're going to want to try too many wildly experimental things on game day. That should be for scrims.
And one of the things that we've talked about, obviously, of course, the fact that you need to have the points to qualify for the live championships. One thing we haven't really touched on too much is the fact that just because you have enough points to guarantee you're going to go to the live championships, you don't necessarily want to stop there. Seeds 1 and 2 get a first-round bye at the live championships. So you want to be performing all the way throughout until you have that, you cannot take your foot off the pedal until you are guaranteed.
That's pretty amazing.
A first or second slot.
Does that mean the whole first day you don't play?
I don't know if it's the entire
Just
first
the first
day.
round?
I believe it's the first round.
Okay.
But I think
Regardless,
that's
it's a pretty
pretty
massive
good.
incentive.
the first round
pretty
might be the first
Plus,
day.
you're getting you're winning more money out of the split as well, right?
Always
Yeah,
nice.
of course.
mean,
I like
if,
money.
If you like money. I don't know.
There are those who don't, believe it or not.
They probably aren't doing things where you compete to try and earn money, though. If you
Possibly
don't care
not.
about money.
Possibly not. Regardless, now that we have this matchup coming up soon, there's a slight delay heading into the draft, but I want to break down the draft and what we maybe expect to see here because, you know, we've got things in the meta right now, like the Lyra and the Adagio, and these are things that both teams have been really premier talents at using. Like, you know, Von C has been fantastic in the jungle with things like the Koshka and the Kestrel in the past. That's going to work out here. In the lane, you've got Best Chuck and Old School with the Adagio and the Lyra. So this is the meta, I think, which actually works best for these teams.
I think it's working for them incredibly well. If you look back to last week, though, the match that TSM dropped to Cloud9, I felt like it was a draft issue on their part.
Mm-hmm.
Talked with Flash, it seemed like he felt it was more of a gameplay issue. Which there were mistakes that were made in the game, but I think it was like almost at the fault of trying to break the meta that they had an open Vox pick and they didn't take it.
Yep.
I felt like it came back to bite them in the butt there.
See, it's really hard to tell, though, isn't it? Because this is what I was saying earlier. Like, is Vox's win rate so absurdly high because people are only picking the situations that make sense, even if most situations make sense to have a Vox in, right?
Yeah.
So there could be exceptions to that rule, and maybe Team Solo Mid thought that was one of them.
I mean, I'm going to be willing to make one prediction about the draft, and that is that we are not going to see an Adagio get played because there is just simply no way that you leave that pick open for Old School. If you let Old School play Adagio, you are asking for a loss.
It is going to be Team Solo Mid on A side, I believe, for the first game. So maybe they try and leave it up, right? Like, they could just ban the Lyra
I don't think you let it go
or
for
Lance.
TSM either.
Yeah, and Best Chuck and A is like just underneath Old School in terms of skill on the Adagio.
Okay, so, I mean, this is interesting, though, because what if TSM says, hey, we're going to ban Glaive, Ringo, Lance? They're going to get Lyra or Adagio, right? Which one would you give them, Lyra or Adagio?
I think they would. TSM was letting Lyra go through last week, even when they could have picked it up on B side. I think they did it once, maybe twice.
Yep.
So, if given the opportunity, I think that they would take Adagio, let Lyra through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that plays well into TSM. It's not Lyra isn't really a pick that you think of when you think Gabe Vizzle. It's not really a pick you think of when you think Old School either. So, while I'm sure they both can play this hero, it's not one that they're known for. So I don't think they want to give up the Adagio just to get a Lyra. Like, that's not an even trade for Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a fairly good point. Now, obviously, last week, we did see that slightly stranger draft you thought in Game 2, I believe it was, from Team Solo Mid. What really stood out to you as maybe the mistake there, and do you think that they should avoid doing that again?
Like, I'd have to go back and have the drafts right in front of me. I can't remember exactly what was picked, but I remember looking through and watching the draft over. Vox was open. I can't remember what they took instead, but that was the question mark for me. And then ultimately, it ended up just being like this very strange gameplay. Like, they were forced into this certain gameplay style that felt like it would have been a lot easier had they picked up that Vox.
Yeah, I mean, Vox has been making a lot of waves so far. I believe the draft is ready now, so let's hop on into this one and see if maybe Vox does get picked up this time around. Very strong pick. Oh, Fortress first ban. Wow. I was not seeing that coming.
No, I didn't think it was going to be starting to get banned this early on. I feel like Fortress is a very strong pick in the current meta. Really works well with a lot of what is being picked up. Adagio going to get banned. Team Solo Mid actually grabbing the Lyra right away.
Yeah, I think they've shown the strength of they're able to play into the Lyra, but also make it work as well. They were one of the teams that used it very effectively into the carry Vox and just shut the Vox down. So I think this is a great pick for them. It's actually a flex pick like it isn't on many other teams.
And Glaive going to be then first picked for Cloud9. Again, a pick that we both, I feel, is very, very strong currently, but not many teams are really getting to play it. It's banned out quite frequently, but even when it's open, doesn't seem to be much of a priority on it typically.
Yeah, you have to have a really, really keen eye for engagements, and I think some of the junglers kind of lack that insight. They're more looking for damage, or how do I take control of
Follow-ups,
yeah,
like let the captain engage first.
But this is like engage, look to peel, look to peel, look to engage. I think it's very strong.
Team Solo Mid going to take a little bit of extra time here.
I like spending a little bit of extra time on this ban because you definitely want to. Wow.
So
It's not what I would have gone for.
I think that's just going to be a throwaway ban.
They want more power in the second round.
Yeah,
More
and
power!
This is something that TSM actually, you know, when the
Unlimited
rules
power.
when the rules for the season were coming out, it was Flash X. I just remember specifically him asking, "Are throwaway bans still allowed? Like, can we do that? Like, can we just ban something totally random if we don't want to ban something strong?"
That's the kind of mastermind he is in the draft.
Notice it wasn't an Ozo ban.
Oh, man.
Hey.
That's too obvious. That's
Hey.
too overtly throwaway.
Lance available quite deep into the draft here.
Jewel, okay.
Ooh.
Wow. Wow. Is
Okay, then.
this going to work into the Lance?
So much power.
I feel like there's a good amount of disengage coming through from Cloud9 here already, and they could pick up a Lance.
I think the Lance deals with the Jewel decently, but and it feels like on paper you deal with Koshka very well, but her move speed is just so
yeah,
good.
it's like ping pong.
It
you know,
is.
Like you swap them back, and it's like
yeah.
straight back into the fight.
Pretty
Not
much.
if you land the stun. If you get the stun, she's not going to be bouncing around because she's stunned.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, I don't know if I want to see the Lance come out here, though. I feel like because there is a lot of mobility and reposition ability. Well, then.
Were you going to say Ryan?
I was
I
not
would
going to say
wager not.
Ryan.
Interesting.
So this is a Glaive captain.
Mm-hmm.
Or Vox, but probably
Or
Glaive.
Rhyme.
Well,
While we're at it, why don't we just list all the heroes that get picked and say they could be the captain?
we will see how this works out for them. TSM, I mentioned the Lyra being a flex pick for them, and they've used it to great effect. They've also used the Glaive to great effect. So if we can see Cloud9 pick that up early in the draft, and now teams have to worry, is this their captain? Is this their jungler?
It
Very
is
strong.
going to be
Very
their
strong.
captain. I'm having a look across here.
Cheater.
But yeah, so that's definitely an interesting lineup. I feel like the Rhyme, solid choice into the Jewel and the Koshka trying to jump on the front line there.
As long as they can lock down the Koshka, that's going to be the difficulty, of course. But if you can get that, the root underneath on top of a Winter Spire.
Joseph Rhyme.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing I Love Joseph play this pick. Absolutely.
All right, let's get this game underway because I can't wait either. Hand it on over to Dalcy and Jingyi for the call.
And wow, it seems like the world has been bitten by the weapon-powered dual carry bug. Bestchuck now the latest casualty of this pick. Let's see how TSM are able to use it in their matchup against Cloud9. And as said, Cloud9 going to be looking for some revenge after losing out to TSM in the semi-finals of last week.
Down there, grudge match coming up there. I'm actually quite laughing at this conversation as well. So we are going to be seeing that Roam Glaive coming out. I think there was a bit of questioning there who exactly was going to be the Roam. But I think as that Glaive with that afterburn, that ability to reposition people, if you can just punt them into the Rhyme's vicinity, it's going to be so much utility there. But with that Lyra there who kind of mitigates any of that movement ability, it could be very difficult for them.
No, certainly will be, and I'm super excited. We did see Cloud9 put out, I believe, in the previous their previous matchup in their third place match, they were playing with their substitute, Ashorane, I believe it's pronounced, and they picked up the Captain Glaive, were able to take out their opponent's Rogue for the third place match last week, which was also off camera. But, you know, it is exciting. I like that Glaive can be pretty much played anywhere at the moment. You've seen teams take it in the captain role, you've seen them take it in the jungle where you expected it, also in lane as well. A super viable hero that can just fit into any team composition.
Exactly, a very versatile pick, and even as a captain, you pick up the Storm Crown as the Glaive. It actually does a lot of damage, and we've certainly, you know, the Storm Crown for a lot of the Crystal Glaives has been a staple. And it wouldn't surprise me. I think you will be probably going to be for that Fountain first. So actually, I was going to say I like the Rhyme pick, especially with that Jewel and the Koshka. They're going to be at melee range anyway. You can do a lot of damage with that Rhyme. The fortified health be very frustrating for TSM to try and deal with.
Yep, I'm expecting the Rhyme pick to possibly be what is necessary to try and shut down this weapon-powered Jewel. Able to tank up very easily with his kit and also does huge damage with the Winter Spires, the Valkyrie as well, when someone commits to an engage. You know, it counters Jewel, but also counters this Koshka as well, and you can kind of see what Flash X was trying to do with the Lyra pick, you know, take it away, not allow Cloud9 to have this pick that will disable the engages. But it's almost like Cloud9 is saying, you know what, we'll have the engage. We've got Gabe Bizzle here, he can peel for Old School with the Afterburns, try and knock anyone away who gets on top of Vox. Vox obviously very mobile as well. And Ryan will just be there to ready and waiting, you know, catch almost as, there it is, Afterburn straight into the Rhyme, and it is a bit of a catch as Best Chuck and A does go extremely low. We'll have the sigils from Flash X to start healing up, but not too many. The energy bar is very low on Flash X, so Vonsi gonna come on forward, try and take out Old School. Vonsi, no fear, diving straight on in, but he may just find himself going down. Old School trying to run away, Vonsi trying to run away, but it will be First Blood going to Cloud9. Old School does end up dropping to Best Chuck and A, but Cloud9 able to get that First Blood.
Yeah, that's what I love about Vonsi so much. No matter who he plays as, he's always just has that level of aggression. And it's actually scary to think how so much more aggressive he used to be. Like, he actually just did not care what he did. He would just dive wherever, like, just wherever. And I think in TSM now, he's just really been, his aggression has been tempered a lot. And I think that was one of the examples where maybe he went a little bit too far, but at least TSM were able to counter it with the return kill there onto Old School.
Yeah, no, certainly. It's, you know, a trade in the end. I guess the First Blood bonus does go to Cloud9, but you look at the CS leads that are being built up as a result of Best Chuck and A taking down Old School. He's got himself a lead in the lane. I Love Joseph is starting to fall a little bit behind Koshka, who can take away the camp so quickly. Honestly, obviously able to clear it super quickly. So the gold lead is there for TSM despite the First Blood. Cloud9 will be, you know, attempting to find more, but they're going to allow TSM to back away now, look for a shot at the jungle.
I think part of the reason that we are seeing this gold lead is that both Vonsi and Best Chuck NA are out-farming their counterparts, and part of it is coming down to Flash X. He's really helping Best Chuck and NA in the lane. If Old School gets a little bit close, he uses his Principal Arcanum just to force him back, and it's working really well. Even the Captain Lyra at the very, very start can just do so much in terms of applying pressure in the lane, especially the Imperial Sigil as well. It makes it very difficult for your opponents just to try and get any return damage on you.
Now, for Cloud9, they're going to have to start to scale up. Old School, Gold School, whatever you want to call this kid, he will be definitely hitting those creeps and start hitting the stage where this Vox gets super strong. Does look like you are going towards that breaking point. Double monocles today, as he already has the breaking point and a minion's foot for a little bit of crit. But look at Vonsi, crept up into the bush, will be spotted out by the scouting trap, so not going to be too out of position for now. Does cause Joseph to come up to the lane and provide a bit of, you know, safety. But TSM, they're going aggressive straight onto Joseph here, looking to try and lay down a bit of poke, and Vonsi will take a lot of a slap back. Possibly not what you want, but with the Lyra to heal you up, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Flash X, I think one of the first Lyras today, well, sorry, or at least in NA, where they've gone for the Fountain first as opposed to the Crystal. And I think in this instance, it's just, I think the only thing you really want to be blocking from Cloud9 is that wait for it. We've seen a few instances today where that wait for it coming up from the Vox has just been game-changing at points. And definitely something he should be working towards. Right now, I'm just kind of wondering how they're going to deal with that Rhyme.
I'm interested as well. You know, I'm not entirely sure how you would. I guess you're just hoping that you can burst through the fortified health that comes through. Bit of a missed position from Cloud9. They allow their turret to take a bit of a beating, and they're trying to punish Best Chuck here, but he has his rocket leap available to come back in, and there it is. They're going straight on in. They're going on to Old School. He's gone so low, not going to escape. He gets taken down, and Vonsi just charges away. Joseph trying to lay down a return kill. They should be able to get Best Chuck, but we're going to take Joseph for a ride as well. That's 2 kills for TSM. Just gave Bizzle left. That is going to be a huge swing for them.
That's a really nice chain there coming from TSM. So we did see the Yummy Cat Friends do chain with the rocket leap. They really took advantage of that, but what actually really coming up from Cloud9 was that we saw the Valkyrie landing on top of them and did a lot of damage. He's only got the Eve of Harvest so far, but it did enough to force them back. and I think a lot of other teams in that position would not have continued with that level of aggression that TSM did, but TSM were able to pick up the 2 kills off the back of that. But again, no objectives being really being taken from that fight. The turret's about half health. Goldmine looks like nobody's really making any plays at the moment to try and claim that. But Best Truck NA has to be careful with that afterburn.
Yeah, it's going to be a reposition tool for Gabe Bizzle to try and knock someone out. With that rocket leap, you can always get back into position. Then you have to watch out for Von C, who's going to be charging on through the Kitty Cat. Her claws out and ready. That's a breaking point finished there for Best Chuck. He's got that Sorrow Blade as well to boot. A very early Atlas Poultry coming through from Flash X, and now it's going to be TSM looking to take this gold miner. They can take it super quickly. Joseph does want to contest, has Valkyrie available. Will they throw it out? They stole it with the Crystal Spire, but can Cloud9 get anything else? Great wait for it. Bonsi going low, but Gabe Bizzle's going to fall first. That's going to be a second kill, and now it's just going to be Joseph, and he will not survive. The gold miner does go Cloud9's way, but an ace for TSM.
Oh, it is. So they may not have been able to take the gold mine, but at least they're going to get the turret and the ace. And at the start of the fight, I have to say I was kind of questioning what TSM were doing. We saw Best Truck NA Flash X. So we're actually focusing on I Love Joseph and Gabe Bizzle, kind of just leaving Old School there to stack up breaking points. I think I was fortunate enough that they were able to burst them down and then focus on Old School. But I think in the late game, that's something that they really can't afford to do. They need to be focusing on Old School in the late game.
Yes, no, Old School in the late game is going to be a monster as this box does start to scale on up. But we've seen teams, you know, 2 different Vox builds coming through. You've got this Breaking Point double monocles. Oh, Cave Vizzle almost steals that away. You know, that we're currently seeing Old School build towards here. But other teams have been prioritizing a Sorrow Blade rather than the double monocles so that the Vox can just do a little bit more burst damage. And Old School needs to be surviving through these fights. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him to survive, and Best Chuck Von C, their prime objective will be jumping onto his face and trying to shut him down.
I think one thing, so I absolutely agree with you, is that he needs to be able to survive, but with I Love Joseph there and Gabe Bizzle, that is a very strong front line. There's a lot of tankiness there. They're able to withstand a lot of damage. Even I Love Joseph, who's not actually playing the captain role, like, he's able to suck up a lot of damage with that rhyme. Oh dear, wait for it, misses.
Oh no, yeah, that's a massive whiff there by Old School, and now that's going to be Best Chuck diving straight on to I Love Joseph. The Kitty Cat goes for Old School. Old School, he's surviving for now, but will be bursted, and that just leaves Joseph between 3 to try and survive. The Crystal Sentry falls, and that's the only backup Joseph had. He will fall very low. In fact, he's going to just get taken down by Von C as well. Another 2 kills for TSM. This time unanswered by Cloud9. Old School just not getting a break.
It's really not. We just saw Von C just diving for him. He was able to block it, but I just don't think it's enough. Von C is just absolutely relentless in his pursuit of old School, and I think maybe just going the afterburn, using more defensive afterburns to try and get Von C away from him would be a little bit better. It was a good opportunity for Cloud9 to fight with their Crystal Sentry. Again, I think Von C, he's just so aggressive right now.
Too aggressive for Cloud9 to handle. You can see everyone has a reflex block now on Cloud9. Gabe Bizzle building towards that Crucible, of course, to try and provide a bit of extra utility towards his team, but this is just what happened. We saw this game 1 with Cloud9 against TSM. TSM got an early lead and they just snowballed so heavily from it last week. Currently a 5,000 gold lead for the team. It doesn't feel like Cloud9 have much of an ability to stay in this game. Old School consistently being taken away as TSM push their gold lead further with that gold miner. And you know, Cloud9, they need to protect Old School. They need to be able to keep him in the fight, or else all their consistent damage is just thrown out the window.
Yeah, I feel like Von C's able to dodge most of the damage coming out from I Love Joseph, and it's just really using them as a trampoline just to get closer to Old School. And it's definitely working. I think Old School, he has the reflex block, he's got the kinetic shield, and I think right now we are kind of in the peak of Koshka's power. She's just doing a lot of damage, she's running rampant through the jungle, and Old School, he's not having a good time. But I think once we get into the late game, if Cloud9 just can keep their defenses up, then they should be okay.
that's going to be the Crystal Sentry eliminated as the fight breaks out. And Old School stuck inside it. Vonsi's doing the work. It's going to be Best Chuck blowing him up with the big red button. A second onto Joseph as well. And it just leaves Gabe Bizzle left alone as he tries to dip and dive away. But there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. It will be Best Chuck. In fact, it's Vonsi finding the ace. And no one falls from TSM. It's clean as hell. They're going to be able to take this turret away here, Shinyi. Cloud9, once more, just can't find an answer.
Another very slick ace. We are seeing, I think part of the issue with his weapon boxes is just that his basic attacks are quite short range. It's very difficult for him just to be able to back away from the fights in time. For him to try and get any damage down, he has to be quite close range, and it's just perfect position there for Vonsi and Best Truck NA. They're definitely taking advantage of that right now. And maybe it would just be a good thing just to actually feed a little bit more gold and experience towards Old School, because I'm noticing that Isle of Joseph level 11, they just get Old School up a little bit more, and that'd be quite good.
I love the way TSM are dealing with this Rhyme pick, you know, just ignoring him essentially until Old School is out of the picture. Then they turn to Isle of Joseph to deal the work. And for Cloud9, we thought maybe Rhyme would be the perfect pick for taking down this Jewel and this, you know, Koshka as well. And I'm not sure Cloud9's theory crafting was wrong. It's just unfortunate that without Old School in the fight, they're immediately in a 2v3, and it makes things just so much more difficult straight off the bat.
Yeah, looking at it on paper, theoretically, Old School should have a lot of peel there. Unfortunately, CSM are just completely ignoring that, as you said, just going straight onto him every single time. And if they take Old School out of the picture, then I feel like I love Joseph Gabe Bizzle. You can't really do too much against the insane burst coming out from Von C. And Best Truck NA, if you look at him, he's got a lot of weapon damage just in his arsenal. Also, what's really difficult is that Flash X with the Imperial Sigil. It doesn't matter if I love Joseph's doing a lot of damage, you can just heal them right up.
Yeah, absolutely. The heal's so strong as the final gold miner was secured by TSM. And we'll say hello to beautiful mistress on the Halcyon Fold, the Kraken, going to be joining the fight once more. She makes her way out of the deep depths of the map. Now for TSM, they've eliminated this Crystal Sentry, so they can play very aggressively in the jungle. Clear out all the scout traps that have been positioned and just sit and wait for Cloud9 to walk on in. And it looks like that might just happen in a second as Old School steps forward. Vonsi dives in. There's the block onto the ultimate. They are going to keep Old School nice and healthy, in fact, as they run away. TSM not able to find this engage, so they just run away.
Perfect opportunity for TSM to go on to the Kraken though, and actually if you look at the vision control on the map, Flash X has done an absolutely amazing job. You know, they have very clear projection of when Cloud9 will be coming towards the Kraken. I think they should be able to safely get this. We might be seeing a steal. We've seen a few today.
They know what's happening. That flare's going to spot it on out. Gabe Bizzle trying to get into position here. TSM, they're biding their time. Old School split from the fight. Von C straight onto him, but he's doing the work. Old School staying alive for now, but Best Chuck joins in, and Best Chuck finds the kill. I love Joseph. He is not going to be able to heal through this. He falls as well. And it just leaves Gabe Bizzle to run away. An afterburn and a block knocks Flash X out of the fight, trying to get to his crystal turret and just escape, but it's not going to happen. He's caught in the middle of 3, and Gabe Bizzle will fall for the ace as well. Who needs a Kraken when you have based up minions? You can just charge straight on into the base, take this choke turret down, no problems.
And they still want the Kraken. They're going for the Kraken as well. Actually, if you look at the start of that fight, TSM didn't have a great start. Von C was just kind of one-on-one against Old School, and he was actually losing in that fight. And what's really good about TSM is their synergy, because the moment that I think Von C started realizing he wasn't doing so well in that 1v1 against Old School, we quickly saw the Arcane Passage coming out from Flash X, so all 3 members could group onto Old School. And that kind of collaboration is what makes TSM so strong. I think they're the only roster, EU and NA, who've managed to keep the exact same lineup. And it just works so well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The consistency, the ability to know exactly what your teammates are going to do. TSM are on another level right now, and it felt like Cloud9, if any team was going to dethrone the North American Kings, it would be this new dream team of such star talent. But right now, you can see that they're struggling in this first game. The Kraken making its way into the base now as TSM line up to take this first game of this series. Cloud9 focusing the Kraken down. Gabe Bizzle looks for an engage, but it doesn't quite connect. He has to jump away. That's going to be TSM welcomed now as Gabe Bizzle goes low, as does I Love Joseph. Vonsi looking to get straight on to Old School, and Best Chuck's going to dive on forward as well. The first turret goes down, and so does Old School. He goes very low, and he will fall. But here we go, Joseph, he's doing work. A double kill on the Rhyme, and it will look like it will be a triple. There's not much way for FlashX to go. He's just buying time so the Kraken to do as much damage to the base as possible. It will find a second Crystal Tower. Will FlashX get away with it as well? Rhyme, not the fastest of heroes. In fact, Joseph has to give up the chase, turn attention to this Kraken as it will be taken down here by Cloud9.
Oh, no.
FlashX looking to just do damage to the Vein Crystal. Needs to make sure he doesn't get aced here, so will back away. That will be the Kraken taken out of the picture. Old School respawns. Cloud9 managed to hold on to their base for now.
I feel like this is very similar to last week, actually, when TSM and Cloud9. I think there was a similar situation where Cloud9 were forced into their base, and TSM could just easily backdoor. And again, with the Jewel and the Lyra there, they definitely have the chance to do so, and absolutely not surprise me if they just went for that backdoor. So we do want to be seeing that vision being established. And I don't know if Gabe Bizzle, has he picked up any scout traps to defend the base? Doesn't look like it, because he doesn't have the money, which might be a bit of an issue if TSM become a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, it didn't even matter. He had full vision of TSM last week when they backdoored over, and there was just nothing that he could do anyways.
I think they're about to do it.
Looks like they're getting ready for it. Scout Trap will spot out Von C. Gabe Bizzle's in position, just waiting and watching for TSM's attempt. Last time it was Best Chuck on the Lyra to lead the charge. This time FlashX. They're going to just head on over to the middle of the map. They have these waves, get the lane pushing, put the pressure back onto Cloud9. Old School has completed his double monocles build now, so damage is there for Cloud9. They could take the fight, but FlashX, he wants to engage straight on in. They're going to try and get onto Old School with that yummy catnip frenzy. Blocked up, but he's taking so much damage. Valkyrie slows Vonsi down, but here comes Best Chuck over the wall. He's not in position. The red button does go out, but it's weapon power.
Vonsi's
it's not the
going for
best.
it.
Oh dear, Vonsi, he's going for the end of the game as Cloud9 are stuck in a fight. They're looking to try and get onto Best Chuck. Here comes Gabe Bizzle to try and knock Vonsi away, but Best Chuck's jumped on over. There's no way Cloud9 defend this. This will be the crystal being destroyed, and game one, it goes to TSM.
Okay. I think the whole game, it definitely felt very much in TSM's favor. They felt very in control the whole time in terms of the pressure that they were applying, the team fights. I felt like they were coming out on top every single time. Cloud9, they had a few good fights, but it just didn't seem quite enough. And I think if it had gone on a little bit longer, we could have seen the chance for Cloud9 to come back from that.
Just unfortunate that they didn't have the base to allow for it. Slow builds, Cloud9 not able to get into it. Old School completely choked out, and that's the strength of weapon power Jewel. It's no wonder she is so strong in the meta right now. TSM show us that they can also play it too. Fantastic stuff coming from TSM as they take the first game in this series. Time to throw over to AJ and the boys on the desk to break that one down.
Man, you really got to watch out for Jewel in the current meta, huh? She is doing so much work both in Europe and North America now. Team Solo Mid made a very decisive game one.
That was pretty intense. Cloud9, I thought they would put up a little more of a... I mean, they definitely put up a fight. They didn't get just rolled over. I thought they would do a little bit better, actually, than they did here in this game. But that was just a straightforward draft from TSM that was really well executed.
I mean, the final scoreboard really doesn't do that game justice. If you look at just the KD, it looks like Team Solo Mid rolled over Cloud9, but like Jinyi was saying, it was very much a close, like the fights were very close. It was just Team Solo Mid always having that slight little edge in the team fights for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually want to have a look at a replay which kind of echoes that point, because the fights were close. Team Solo Mid nearly died, but they were able to play just carefully enough to not fully go down.
And just look at how low Vonsi is when this fight is like just starting. He gets out of dodge, gets himself into a position where he can't be focused. The rest of the team start doing work. I mean, they're all very, very low. FlashX is the healthiest member of the team when they finish off this ace. And that was just kind of how Team Solo Mid was playing the entire game.
I mean, it's a result of the heroes they picked, and that's what they needed to do. They had to commit into it. If you pick Jewel and start playing with fear, you're gonna lose. Same thing with Von C. No, he's not playing with fear. But you get in there, there's a lot of area effect damage coming out there, especially from the Rhyme. So really smart from Flash to just hang back, drop that Sigil, give him an Arcane Passage. You saw them reposition and then go back in with it. It was really nice.
I've got to agree. So moving into draft number 2, I mean, what do we want to see here from Cloud9? What should they change up? I think, to be honest, that maybe it's a ban-related thing. Like, they banned very meta bans, and then Team Solo Mid played Jewel, which isn't... I don't know if you can call it meta yet. It's on its way there.
I would call it meta.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand why you would, but is it ban-worthy? We saw it over in Europe. It got banned against Cyclone.
Yeah.
I think if it's Cloud9 that's pick-worthy... I mean, that isn't that they had Jewel when they beat TSM last week, right?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Bacon.
You're supposed to ask me this before we get set so I can look it up.
Oh, we're live?
I've got it all set. I've got it all set in the other room. I can pull it up.
Yeah.
I don't have it on me.
Very convenient excuse.
You need those Google glasses.
Yeah,
Heads-up
right.
display. You've got all the data. It's there. It's just not accessible yet.
Exactly.
All right. Anyway, let's get into this draft properly. Cloud9 has banned away Fortress as their first ban. Team Solo Mid answered with the Adagio, even though they know that means the Lyra goes to Cloud9. Interesting choice.
Looks very similar to game number 1. The draft is identical thus far, just with the team swapped.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see the direction that TSM take here.
Koshka again. Huh. I mean, this is something they did at Worlds. They put a lot of emphasis on this Koshka pick. It worked out very well for them until the Scarf started coming out.
Yeah, it was actually their first game at Worlds, I think, that they first picked it. And we were all sitting there like, whoa, that seems a little bit eager.
Yeah, at first we thought they were just like trying to flex on their opponents because it was from a different region and they were just trying to show off a little bit. But then they ended up running it really throughout all of Worlds. Other teams started picking it up, so it was really just them being ahead of the curve.
I thought there were a lot of drafts earlier where Koshka would have fit in and it wasn't picked. It's just very interesting to see it as the first pick here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mentality change, right? It's like, oh, we're not going to pick it when it kind of makes sense, but we're going to pick it before we know if it makes sense.
They're going to make it make sense. That's what's going to happen. I mean,
I want you to make it make sense, Humanist.
Basically, Cloud9 know that they're going to have a lot of pressure in their jungle, so it means that whatever you draft here, it has to be within, you have to keep in mind that you have to be able to fight from, like, minute 2 in this game.
Well, Team Solo Mid have a chance to pick up another hero here. As always, when you're banning or picking against a Lyra, you got to think about what works with it. So many options right now.
So much silence.
I'm trying to, because there's too
So
many
Vox,
options.
Captain.
We can't really predict what they're going to pick because they can go wherever they want.
That's your job. That's literally your job.
I'd like to see them grab their captain here, and it's probably, this will be their flash on the glaive. But
will it?
Most likely. I would have if this was gonna be the way the draft worked, I would have rather seen the glaive picked up as the first pick.
Yeah.
It's always risky if you want the glaive to leave it after your first pick.
Yeah, that's what kind of confuses me. But maybe this is something that Cloud9 would have banned out more than the glaive.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is they picked Koshka first to make it seem like they weren't going to pick glaive, so that Cloud9 banned other things that they would have eventually wanted to pick if the glaive was picked, like the lance. You got to look a couple of layers deep, but it's there.
So they knew that Cloud9 knew, that TSM knew, that Cloud9 knew.
Basically. That's what I'm saying, in effect. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Flash.
Not at all. I mean, Flash X, we've always touted him as being one of the best drafting minds in the game. So,
yeah. And I personally, I don't have the stats on how often these guys are scrimming each other. And I think that has a huge part in when it comes down to these drafts, especially in the mind games of the draft.
That's a good point. Cloud9, they're actually going to be picking up a Jewel after Team Solo Mid ran over them with it in Game 1.
Definitely, if you can't beat them, join them. People can't seem to beat the Jewel, so
it's
you gotta
pretty
get her
tough
on your
to
side.
beat the Jewel right now. Question is, though, I mean, because Jewel's been dumpstering on most laners. I mean, the Vox, the Ringo, they've been struggling into the duel because she just runs straight at you, and there's more damage output there.
Okay.
The question is statement.
Yeah. No, I mean, you guys are here. Like, that's the question. I don't know what the actual answer is.
There was no question in what you said, though.
All right, let's talk about that. There's not a draft happening.
Oh!
Come on.
See, when the world starts to fall in around you, you just get picked right back up, team. Let me bring this mic close to my mouth. I don't know if you heard that Ozo pick come in there.
So the interesting thing to me is last week, at the end of the week, I was actually talking to you, and he said it's just so good when you have Lyra and Lance is banned. Ozo is one of the best picks you can grab. They have Lyra. They banned Lance. Is Ozo one of the best picks they could have grabbed?
Ooh, this would be one of the drafts where I would say it probably does okay, but it's not like the best. The best would be like if they have a Ringo already picked, if they have a squishy weapon laner, even a squishy CP laner. You know, it doesn't matter if it's Celeste, I guess.
I do think that Ozo does one thing which is kind of counter to the rest of Cloud9's comp, and that's with Bangarang, you're isolating one person, and I think Jewel wants everyone to be grouped.
Nah, necessarily. I mean, almost all the fights we saw earlier, Jewel was ditching her team and the enemy team while Ringo or Vox or whoever is trying to run away from the fight, and she's just chasing them down. Ringo's the last pick here for TSM. I think Ringo should struggle into the Ozo for sure.
Yeah, I actually really like Cloud9's draft here. I feel like there's a lot of tools they have that can really shut down.
Funnily enough, I actually, now that they picked Ringo, agree. But I wasn't really anticipating Team Solomon to pick a Ringo there.
Well, that makes it a really smart pick, doesn't it, Aiken? I wanted to do another the question is and not say a question, but I couldn't do it.
You're tilting me so hard. Ozo, though, it's funny, actually, because before the game I was saying, you know, I have actually been playing a lot of Ozo recently. I've been trying to get into it, because I think it's just one of those, like, opaque picks. I see it and I'm just like, why? And I want to understand why, and I think in order to do that, I got to put myself out there and give Ozo a try.
You do.
To understand the Ozo, you must become the Ozo.
You have to.
Exactly. But I have to admit, I don't yet. I'm not there.
Glaive does pretty well against the Ozo. If Koshka finds him one-on-one and he can't bounce off anything, she's most likely going to win the fight there. He might be able to sustain himself long enough for an ally to get within range to help him out, and then he can turn it. So one-on-ones with Koshka will be hard. If Glaive can afterburn him while he's bouncing, he can get shut down pretty quickly. But otherwise, he has the tools.
All right. One word. Who wins?
Cloud9? Is that one word?
It could have been if you did C9. That would have been like kind of a word.
That's not a
Bacon.
Really? Well, I guess if
Bacon,
it qualifies,
Bacon.
C9.
Pick.
I
Who
just
wins?
did.
You said C9?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. All right, let's find out who's right as we head on to the Halcyon Fold with our shoutcasters, Dalsy and Jingyi.
Welcome, guys, to the second game, and what you're seeing is Cloud9 invading straight into the jungle of TSM. Gotta get those predictions out quicker. Tasty bacon. It's all good. Nothing missed out. You could have said TSM. TSM's one word, but hey, never mind. We'll have to see if Cloud9 does come through. And look at where Best Chuck is right now, in the jungle of Cloud9. Gabe Bizzle going to spot him out, stop the recall with that Lyra. I think the Lyra wins the 1v1, but Old School's going to come and say, hello, some action for me. I will take it, yes please. First blood on the cards for Old School, as long as he can get the killing blow. No rocket lump, it's going to go to Gabe Bizzle. Whoopsie-days. I guess first blood is first blood.
First blood is first blood, and it's a very quick first blood. Or first blood. It was just saying first blood lots. But, I feel like, so in the last game between these two teams, between Cloud9 and TSM, we did see Gabe Fizzle picking up that Captain Glaive, which I think a lot of us felt didn't work so well. I feel like TSM have this habit if they always like to play what their opponents played if they lost. So now we're seeing FlashX playing the Captain Glaive, if that makes sense.
Yep. They are sticking on to that Koshka for Von C, so the aggression will still be available. Cloud9 though, they say we can make this duel work for ourselves. They pretty much steal away the Lyra as well. Ozo picked up for Joseph. That is very interesting.
the fun pick, which I actually think could really work really well. Can dive straight into the back line for straight onto Best Truck NA every single time. That's something that he's gonna have to be very careful about. That bangerang, once he hits that level 6, definitely make things difficult. And again, we're just going to be talking about important prioritizes. Okay, Bonsi.
Bonsi just jumps in, takes the tree and gets out alive. Not even worried. Joseph tries to chase him down. Long range acro bounce there, but it's just not enough damage so far. He needs to be hitting multiple combos. Now Bonsi's in position to steal this Elder Treant away. Everyone rooted up. They're going to go straight for Gabe Vizzle, lay down the damage. There goes the Treant over onto Bonsi. Gabe Vizzle will fall. Easy pickings for this Koshka. And now they're looking to get Joseph as well. It's going to go over a double here for Bonsi. Old School under fire as well. Things just going so wrong for Cloud9.
Yeah, very wrong indeed. It was nice to see that they were just focusing Gabe Vizzle, trying to burst him down as much as they could. And actually, Bonsi, with only 2 crystal bits, actually did really well against Gabe Vizzle and I Love Joseph, who I Love Joseph definitely has a bit more crystal power than Bonsi does. So that was a fun match that we're seeing, that we might be seeing again. Bonsi, no, actually, Bonsi's going to be okay. He's not going to be caught out here. And Cloud9 being a little bit aggressive here.
Yeah, no, they are looking to try and regain the Elder Treant rooting up both Gabe Vizzle and Joseph was what allowed for this double kill to go over to Bonsi so easily. Now Joseph looking to be aggressive. Bonsi trying to get on in there. The Bright Bulwark will stop him from engaging now, but Cloud9 will have to disengage. Can't allow for this Koshka to get too close. The jungle shop just about to spawn, and you can see that they're going to purchase it up here. That fountain does go to Flash X just before as he finds a teleport for himself, but will be Joseph purchasing here, everyone purchasing Bonsi as well as Cloud9 make their way back to the lane.
Yeah, we just see Flash X picking up that quick offense in there. Gabe Vizzle's a few hundred gold off. He's probably going to guess it soon in the next, well, he'll have enough gold in the next, I'll say 30 seconds or so. But right now, TSM, they're picking their fights carefully. Koshka, we are seeing her roaming around the map, but not being as aggressive. And I think part of the reason is, if you do look at the 1v1 that we could potentially be seeing between I Love Joseph and Bonsi, it's actually very difficult to call who would win. And actually, I would tend to favor the Ozo over the Koshka actually in these instances, just because of the reach. Oh, they're going in!
Oh no, Old School completely knocked out of position, but he stays alive for now. Joseph gonna go in, they're looking to try and lock him up, and Best Chuck gonna find a kill. That's gonna be Old School falling to Bonsi as well. It's just Gabe Vizzle left alive as Best Chuck goes for a bit of a cheeky tower dive, but man, Cloud9, they're just getting completely shut down.
They really are. You know, what we're seeing right now with this Captain Glaive, Captain is we want to be seeing those
Captain, my captain. Oh, Glaive.
Oh, Glaive. Exactly. Early on, with the Captain Glaive, exactly. You want to be seeing the afterburn, you want to be seeing the repositioning. They managed to get Old School. He did use his Rocket Leap to get away, but you certainly caught them unawares, did a lot of damage, and they took advantage of the damage and just pushed 2 kills out of that. And we're seeing them just drawing a very slow lead ahead. And actually, TSM, they kind of remind me of like the old Team Secret. Like the synergy is, they've been together for a few seasons now. It's so strong. Ooh.
Comparing a North American team to a European team.
I know, it's controversial.
Interesting.
Baiting
Controversial, yeah.
Twitch
It's going to be
right
Cloud9 though. Looking for an engage. Joseph getting baited in. Maybe you're baiting the wrong people here as Bonsi goes in, but there's the bangerang, knocks him straight back in, and that's going to be Bonsi falling. No fear. This time he should have it. As now Joseph looks to engage further. The acro bounce lands, but they can't find any more. Bonsi going to consider how close he was. A little bit too close. Over that aftershock purchase.
That's what we mean about the Ozo. Is that once you get into the late game, the regeneration that you do get from your acrobats is just so useful, especially if you pair that with a Lyra who is able to heal you and just stay relatively far back in the back line and just heal you whenever she sees the need to do that. Whereas Vonsi, what we need to be seeing is just them jumping straight in, bursting them down as fast as possible. But as we do get into the late game, it is going to be a lot more harder for them to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. For Vonsi, he has a ticking clock above his head. This early game, as we head into mid game, will be what kind of dictates whether Vonsi can continue the aggression. But in the previous game, it was enough. You can see he's not dissuaded. Jumped straight towards Old School there to try and lay down a bit of poke. Joseph will make his way back up to the lane. TSM, they are still keeping up so much pressure onto Cloud9, you know, consistently trying to keep Old School on his back feet.
It's working. Old School, he's doing well with the farm. He's keeping him and Best Chuck NA are staying very even right now. But I'm gonna have to agree with the analyst desk. I think Cloud9 definitely have the advantage in terms of compositions. TSM are supposed to be very aggressive in the early game, and they definitely have done so. Here we go again.
Yeah, here we go. The afterburns go in. Old School disengaged. There's Vonzi knocked in with that Bangarang. But look at Old School's health. It's melting and he gets taken on out of the fight. Joseph trying to do his best to get a return kill onto Vonzi. Has the shield. And that's going to be the help from Lyra. Gabe Bizzle able to find that before. That is Joseph falling. Now Gabe Bizzle trying to escape. Still with ultimate in hand. Very, very safe at this point. But Flash X is in position. He wants that afterburn onto the Lyra. Won't be able to find it though. Another 2-1 for TSM. It goes in TSM's way.
I think it's still very close, so I think every single team fight, I actually find it very difficult to call who's going to win. And it's been going quite back and forth every single time. And Old School, he's not been blocking the afterburns, and I partly think he's just saving his Rocket Leap for that purpose, and then using his reflex block for the for the Yummy Catnip Frenzy, which I think would do a little bit more damage if he was caught out by that. But right now, we're getting to this point. The gold mine's very full. Neither turret has been taken. And I think what we're just seeing is that Cloud9 are just playing the careful waiting game. Just keeping their defenses up. They're doing a good job so far. And once we do see all the heroes on the side of Cloud9 ramping up, that's when they can just really go all in.
Certainly. Atlas Pauldron finished with Gabe Bizzle, so we'll be able to shut down some of the damage that comes out of Best Chuck if the captain for Cloud9 is able to get close to the fight. Have to see how aggressive Gabe Bizzle's positioning is during the fights. It will really rely on it. A very interesting usage of the big red button. Doesn't connect onto anything, possibly just trying to push the wave out before TSM gets in position to start hammering away at this turret. You can see Vonzi's pushed up very aggressively in that top push.
That they are. We do see Joe picking up the breaking point now. What to say? I think Humanist said earlier on that he does prefer to see the tornado trigger over the breaking point, and I think you have to agree with him. I think the tornado trigger is just a bit more. Oh, I don't know why. I just think it's a bit more. Oh, hang on, they're going to get the gold mine. We see Seamless Steel, maybe a big red bus. Oh no, we're not going to be seeing that anytime soon. But Cloud9 are going in for the steal.
Imperial Sigil goes on in, but it's not going to be taken out. The fight started up. It's going to be Best Chuck though going extremely low. Z gets taken on down, but they find the kill onto Old School as well. Joseph bouncing forward and backwards, looking to try and keep this one up, but Vonzi gets the heal. Now he wants to re-engage. Maybe too soon, my friend. He will fall to Gabe Bizzle. A very crazy team fight. But there you see it, the aggression from Gabe Bizzle with that ultimate to get into the fight. Immediately puts down that Atlas Pauldron straight onto Best Chuck's face and completely cuts him out of the fight.
It's exactly what they did. And also, if you look at it, Best Chuck's positioning was a little bit off. He was just standing and he was just taking damage from I Love Joseph and Gabe Bizzle the whole time, who were right next to him. And by the time that he was able to pick up the kill on there onto Old Skill, he was already so low that it just wasn't enough. And Vonzi and Flash X had to back away. I think with this Ringo, you want to see him a little bit more in the back line. And right now, I don't think we're seeing that.
Currently very even this game, but the gold has swung in TSM's way. 2,000 just about. It doesn't feel like it here. We're going to see the Crucible finished for Flash X. That's really where the difference lies if you look across the board in the items. Just TSM have a little bit more under their wings, but the Crystal Weapon Infused for both these carries here. We'll have to see if they're able to win out a fight because of them. I Love Joseph still has his ticking away from earlier. This turret, Cloud9 trying to put the aggression onto it. In fact, they want Vonzi. They jump over, steal away that Treant for themselves.
I think what's worrying me is I'm just looking at I Love Joseph on the Ozo, and he is just able to get onto Best Truck NA every single time, which is not what Best Truck NA wants. He doesn't have the defense to try and counter that. And oh, we're going in with the Hellfire Brute. I don't know if we're going to see any engages on top of this. Doesn't look like it.
Once again to position, but that Bright Bulwark goes out. Cloud9 say no. Now we just have to see if Cloud9 look to try and reset the fight. They have Atlas Pauldrons of both Joseph and Gabe Bizzle can really slow down the attack speed of Best Chuck here, who's isolated from the fight, and Old School dives on in. Acro Bounce is not landing there from Joseph, isn't quite able to get to Best Chuck in A. So Cloud9 will just back away.
Yeah, we did see, that was actually a nice move that we saw from FlashX. So the moment it looked like I Love Joseph was going to jump onto Best Truck NA, we saw FlashX using the afterburn immediately to try and counter and just punt him away. It didn't actually quite happen, but it was a really nice move coming out from FlashX, and this is exactly what we're going to be seeing coming out from him in these upcoming fights. It's just to keep Best Truck NA safe. He doesn't have the defense to fight against Joseph. Oh, this is a 2v3, they're going in.
Yep, and Old School was able to disengage straight off the bat. The reflex block from him, nice usage. In fact, it's an Aegis already, but Old School putting so much priority on saving, building up that shielding, the ability to block out some of this damage from Koshka, and have that reflex block up very often.
Makes sense. We're just seeing Vonsy jumping onto Old School every single time. I Love Joseph just, I think, is a little bit too nimble for them to try and catch on to. Oh dear, I don't know about this. It's a bit of a 2v3 situation. I think Cloud9 should have this. Very risky.
TSM can steal it away. So many abilities that will allow them to. Big red button goes out. Here's Best Chuck. He's in the fight in this. TSM looking for the engage straight away, straight on in. They're going to try and trade it around. They're going straight onto Best Chuck, but Joseph going so low. Can he heal up for the fight? Sustain as he bounces back and forth. Yes, he can find Best Chuck before he too loses his life. But Vonzi has to dive away. The Gold Miner goes to Cloud9, and FlashX now in a dire situation. He is, though, able to find a kill and run away. Vonzi now fighting against Old School. Old School disengages, trying to run away from this Koshka, but you cannot run, you cannot hide, an ace for TSM.
Oh, Vaughn, see, I did not think, the whole time in the fight, the Goldmine was helping, which was absolutely not helping the situation at all, but they were able to control the fight. Vauncey just managed to pull that extra energy out at the end, just to try and catch up to Old School. I don't know how he did that, but it was very impressive.
He went straight over to the Treant, took it away whilst the Gold Miner was being completed, looking ahead for the chase down rather than for the Gold Miner.
Smart move, and I think that's exactly what TSM needed. And I've got to say, actually, by focusing on I Love Joseph near the start, it actually worked really well for them. They kind of just isolated Old School and went, okay, we need to take out I Love Joseph, because before in the fights, if they took out Old School first, I Love Joseph would just come in there and just sweep up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Focus him down, get him out of the fight. They did lose Best Chuck fairly early on, but Cloud9 just didn't have anything left in them, and the ace comes through. They get the turret as well, TSM here. They basically discount what that gold miner means to Cloud9. The gold still in the advantage for TSM as they're building up to a 3k lead here. However, we'll have to see how Vonzi is able to scale throughout this game, because Cloud9, if they can hold out, if they can stay close, they don't lose too many objectives along the way. We've hit this 15-minute mark. They're in a good position to get this duel, get this Ozo going. Not if Old School gets caught out, though. That's going to be him locked up, stunned away. There's no way he survives. Now Gabe Bizzle trying to escape as well, but Vonzi's quick on the hunt, looking to try and chase down the Hellfire Brew, going to tick on through. FlashX dives as well, but Joseph is able to push them all back. This Ozo bouncing back and forth in the middle of the fight. Vonzi, though, he's not done! And Gabe Bizzle will go so low! It's going to be the keycap swiping for that final blast of the damage. And now it just leaves Joseph to hold the base together. Vonzi will look to try and take that one away as the fast shot from Best Chuck finds the ace. So many isolated fights. TSM take a 1v3, a 1v3, and then another 1v3, and it just gives them a very easy ace in the end.
Could they have been any more aggressive, I guess, in the voice of Chandler? Because I was like, they went under like 2 turrets. Vonzi just kept going just after Gabe Bizzle, but that is what they need. We need to be seeing this aggression. A lot of times when we do see this Koshka being played is that they start off with good intentions, but then just back away from the fight. But again, okay, my gosh, that was a quick cracking coming out from them.
Super quick. Possible stuff here for this team now. Cloud9 in so much trouble. Wonder how they actually get back into this game. At the moment, for TSM, they have such a huge advantage. The Kraken pushing straight on in. Old School just hasn't been as influential, hasn't got that monocle yet on this Jewel, and it is so necessary for the Jewel to be able to lay down the consistent damage. It's almost like he missed the memo on how to build her.
Savage. I think also part of the issue is that we are seeing TSM just throwing everything at them. He gets hit with the Afterburn, he gets hit with the Hellfire Brew, and he also gets hit with the Yummy Catnip Frenzy.
Like this, straight on in, flash tech straight in. This time, Old School's trying to dive on forward. It's a messy fight. This ultimate from Lyra causing a lot of trouble, and Old School will be immediately taken away from the fight. Joseph doing his best, but he gets knocked away and taken on out. TSM are so strong, and the ace will spell the disastrous note here for Cloud9. Fonzie jumps on towards the base. He's going to give his life up because he doesn't care. They take the game 16-6, a clean 2-0 over Cloud9, and they'll be progressing to day 2.
That was just a ridiculous game. I really feel that Cloud9 should have had that game, but TSM, their aggression is just too much. That no fear, just fight sentiment is very much alive and still kicking. And poor Old School, the target of every single thing that TSM could throw at them, because once they took him out of the picture, they could just focus on I Love Joseph really easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible stuff from TSM. Such great focus on them to be able to focus the right targets, completely hold Cloud9 out. You know, I made that savage comment, Shinyi, but it was really to the testament of TSM to hold Cloud9 out of the game. And moving into day 2's games here, it almost seems like TSM are unstoppable here in North America.
TSM, they're just one of those teams that just get better with time. You know, they are in that team house. They've always had a very consistent performance, and it's just been getting better. Worlds, they play second. These Vainglory A matches, they're playing these compositions. I think they're really making it work. The synergy is really on point, and I'm really excited to see how they're going to do it tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, it is with that me and you say goodnight for the night. We'll be back tomorrow bringing the coverage for EU. So before that is all done, let's hand over to AJ and the desk to close this one out.
It's not just me and the desk here, though. We got Humanist and Tasty Bacon with us.
It's the boys.
We them boys.
What a way to wrap up the game, though. Team Solo Mid, I mean, I felt like that game was very back and forth for a while, and then they kind of took one fight, and it crumbled for C9 very, very quickly.
A couple fights here and there. But yeah, in almost like an awkward kind of way, it's just like Old School couldn't find the damage.
Mm-hmm.
All the damage was finding him. I don't know where it went wrong. I don't know why necessarily his damage wasn't coming through. I know there were a couple missed Thunderstrikes here and there, but it wasn't consistently.
I mean, I feel like part of it comes back down to the build. This is a build that we've talked about a lot with the Jewel in particular. Going for the breaking point, it automatically means your damage is going to be lower at the start of the fight, but higher at the end of a fight. But with Jewel, like, the whole point of what you're trying to do is blow someone up immediately so that you don't have an end of the fight. Like, the end of the fight is the start of the fight.
Yeah.
So you want to get just a lot of damage and upload that damage up front. The whole point of overdriving Thunderstrike is so that it can start critting.
Yeah.
If you don't have crit in your inventory, then that's like wasting a skill point.
All right, well, let's take a look at a fight around 13 minutes by the gold mine here. You can see, you know, Best Chuck does die quickly in this one.
And a couple things to point out is, first of all, I Love Joseph targeting Von C with the Bangarang. I know you weren't particularly a fan of that. But one of the big things I want to point out is right here, Von C ducks out of this fight, grabs himself into a treant, and then comes back in with extra health and energy in order to help finish off this team fight and get the ace for Team Solo Mid. It was just
don't run away.
Yeah, I want you to go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to talk over you. It was just watching that, and even when it happened live, where you going? Where you going, bud? You don't pick Jewel to run away. I mean, yeah, he missed the first Thunderstrike, so I think in his head he was like, oh, like, if I miss that, I'm going to lose the fight. But if you run away,
you're exposing
your
back. You're not armored back there. I mean, look at the damage that those attacks were doing.
He had at least one Thunderstrike worth of energy in him. I think just stand your ground. That's all you can do. And that's why this game comes down to just seconds, half second right there. Because for a moment he went after Flash X. and Von C got some damage onto him. And in that moment, you can see that's where he really started to get a little shaky in the fight.
I've got to agree with you. So, Team Solo Mid are actually going to be the winners of this series. They move forward to day 2. Cloud9 were not able to take a game, so their points are going to be locked in for the week. This does lead to some interesting developments for tomorrow, for sure. I mean, Team Solo Mid has the opportunity to maybe go and win 2 weeks in a row. They certainly seem like a team strong enough to do so. If they do, they are in a great spot heading into the end of the split.
Yeah.
Feels pretty good, man.
I mean, the other thing I wanted to point out about today in general, obviously we don't know quite yet. There's that one match still going on off stream, but up until now, minimum number of points earned on the day. Every single match, every single series was a 2-0. That's the only one that could possibly end up at 3. We don't really know yet.
Yeah, I believe Gangstars has won game 1 of that series. If I get any more updates whilst we're wrapping up, I will, of course, give them to you guys. But let's take a look at the point standings for now. You can see both Europe and North America here. Cyclone and Team Solo Mid both make it to day 2 after winning week 1 and both have 10 points as a result. Same thing for Team Secret and Gangstars. SK Gaming Cloud9 next up in 3rd place in their respective regions, and then we start to drop down to the lower point brackets. Hammers, Immortals, and Rogue all have some, not none, like Misfits and Echo Fox, but not a ton. And on the other side in Europe, Denali Esports and G2 tied at 3, with Fnatic, Rising Lotus, and Mouse Sports down at the bottom of the bracket.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, Hammers going to day 2 here. They're kind of, below that top upper echelon of the leaderboard there. Really can kind of shake things up and, maybe wake some people up to what they can accomplish as far as that roster is concerned. Over in Europe, Cyclone and SK both moving forward, both sitting up in the top 3. So they're going to start separating themselves from the pack pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the brackets real quick as well. You can see the semifinals that we're going to have tomorrow. Immortals, we don't know if they're going to be facing Gangstars or Misfits yet, but if you want to catch VODs of that series, they're going to be available later on this evening. So make sure you keep on checking the YouTube channel. We've also got Team Solo Mid playing against Hammers tomorrow. That is a matchup I'm very excited to see because we keep saying, or rather, you guys keep saying, Hammers, they could be top 3. They could be top number 1 if they play like this. Well, they got to bring it against Team Solo Mid to make that happen.
Yeah, this is their chance to prove it. And I was actually, I was grabbing for some papers here when you were talking about Hammers. I was like, who do they play tomorrow? Is it TSM? Right before the schedule came up. And so, yeah, Team Solo Mid, obviously the toughest matchup in North America at the moment. Taking down Cloud9 twice in a row, that's got to be something that they're going to be happy to hang their hat on for now. But Hammers Esports, if you want to prove yourself, what better way to do it than by toppling the team at the top of the standings?
Exactly.
That's a very good point. Well, that wraps up day number 1 of our 2nd week of the Vainglory 8 Spring Split 1. It's been a very exciting series of games. We got more coming up tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. in Europe with Cyclone versus Fnatic. Make sure you don't miss it, and we'll see you then.